Agree with the moderator nor Reverend Robinson that we want some kind of agreement. We want agreement by which we can live or die. You choose. If you won't listen to me when I make an appeal for the Negroes because you have no concern for the Negroes, listen to me when I make an appeal for America. You claim you love America. Well, we love America. But you are driving us back and you are making a Samson out of us, and we are going to pull down the pillar. Should you try to pretend that I'm crazy because I want America to be saved? And then you think we have no right to ask for something? Is it too much to ask you to grant us human dignity? Should we be put down and shot to death for this request? If so, you can aim your guns. What the hell do you think we care about dying if you're going to deny us the right to live?
That was great. I hope everybody can hear me, I guess. Oh, I hear echo. Oh, that's me. I'm sorry. Hold on for a second. All right. I think that's better now. All right. And that was a good. That was a good intro. It's my sentiment exactly. I think sometimes as Black folks, man, we talk so much about what we don't have, and we forget that we're Americans. You know, forget about the color of our skin. We're Americans, man. We've bled in every war, not just the Civil War. We've done a lot of stuff for this country, and nobody has a right to make us feel less than. You know, unfortunately, too many of us make ourselves feel less than. I think the liberals make us feel less than. And I'm gonna get into a little bit of that. But hey, listen, I'm here to speak for the boomers. I'm in these YouTube spaces, and I hear people just destroying baby boomers all the time, as if the whole world depended on whether we were the best generation that ever existed, and that no other influences was available that or was levied upon us as Americans and Black Americans that have any sway on the way people are living today. And that's simply not true. It's not just because boomers failed. And I even take umbrage on that because boomers didn't fail, because I don't consider myself a failure. I don't consider what I did and how I raised my girls and married and loved my wife as a failure, how I paid over millions of dollars in taxes to this country. I don't consider that a failure. You know, so I take umbrage when anybody says that, you know, I was a part of a generation that just failed everybody. It's an absolute and complete lie. And we're going to get into some of the things to tell you why that is. And that doesn't absolve baby boomers of everything, because nobody's absolved and nobody's blameless for all the things that have transpired. But just to say that that's where the nexus of all the things that ail us now is with baby boomers, that's just horseshit. And I'm not going to accept that from anybody. Anyway, so let's kind of keep it a little light. And anybody who's in the chat, please hit the like button. Welcome aboard. And we're gonna drop the link sooner or later so people can come up and speak if they want to. But first, just a little background on the baby boomers, right? But I'm gonna start with the greatest generation. And depending on how you look this up, they'll tell you different numbers and stuff like that of when the greatest generation was. But let's just start there. Okay, so from 1900, maybe 1898 to 1927, that's the greatest generation. The silent generation is like 1928 to 1945. That's, by the way, let me get back to the greatest generation. There's still some people from the greatest generation still alive, by the way. Some of them today will be 98 years old. Some of them are well over 100. They're dying off, but some of them are still around. That's a long, long life. Silent generation, that's true too. They would be 75 years old to 95 years old today. There's quite a few of them still alive as well. Unfortunately, some of them still want to be president, and that should be a non-starter, and we need to work on that. If you're over 75, you need to be out of the presidency, and somehow you need to be able to offload your wisdom to somebody else. Baby boomers, and that's what we're talking about, right? I hope everybody can hear me. Put a one in the chat if you can. I guess Black David would tell me if you couldn't. Look, baby boomers born 1946 to 1964. I'm a baby boomer. I was born in 1958. If you're a baby boomer today, you're either 59 on the young end and 77 on the old end. There's plenty of baby boomers still alive, okay? Matter of fact, your modern day leaders and your industry captains, both in the government industry and everywhere else, a great deal of them are baby boomers. A great deal of them are baby boomers. All right, so I don't know whether you can consider that a failure or not, or whatever have you, but a lot of those people's children are going to be inheriting a lot of money. Some of them are really well-to-do. A lot of them are married, okay? So there's a whole class of people from the baby boomers who are doing quite well in society and buffering everything else that's going on. Gen X, 1965 to 1980. Millennials, 81 to 96. My oldest daughter is a millennial. Gen Z, 1997 to 2012. My youngest daughter is Gen Z, and now they have Gen Alpha. Those are folks born in 2010 to 2025. That's going to be considered the Gen Alphas. Heaven help them. Anyway, so I just wanted to kind of give you the time frame, and we're going to concentrate on the boomers, those folks who are 59 to 77. Those people are still with you. Matter of fact, if you're a Gen Xer or a millennial, you got a lot of family members who are boomers, still alive. Some of them you go to and seek counsel from, and some of you hold in absolute disdain based on the way you talk. But the real point is that there's layers to it, and it's not one size fits all. So in just your own life, there are baby boomers that you love and respect. So that should take half of the bullshit that you guys talk about baby boomers away. Because you got in your own life, you prove your notion of bad baby boomers wrong. But we'll talk about it. So, hey, Black David, if you can, let's play some of that clip. I was on Fight Club, and lo and behold, we weren't fighting. Sway, Aaron O, and a couple of other folks were up. It was early in the morning, and they were bashing baby boomers, and I just couldn't take it anymore. So I popped on, and so I got a clip of that Fight Club, and We actually had a little conversation after it got going. So if you can, Black David, you can cue that up.
Retirement account, if every single year you're struggling to survive, you need to get your income up, because even if you have no retirement account but you have high income, who cares? If I make, let's just throw an arbitrary number out there, like $700,000 a year, right?
You know
let's just say after tax or whatever the case is, I just save, forget investing, just save $100 grand a year. That's in 10 years, I will save it. It will take you 30 plus years to actually make $1 million in a round, right? Like, it's not going to work. You need to get your income up. You need to make more money. You need to give yourself more of
Black David,
shovel.
Stop it here and go to 30. Go to 32. 32. 2 hours and 32. How about that?
Are you interested in starting your own faceless YouTube automation channel, but all people do is tell you to go to 5?
What's being AOC? It's just you probably don't look at it a certain way. And she could navigate. Just a name AOC is very popular for some strange reason. She could navigate that and turn that into millions and millions of dollars. So it's not about being a billionaire, leaving all this type of money. It's understanding power. It's understanding influence, and starting to understand the game of life. And you don't have to get it done in year 1, year 2, year 10, year 15. One thing I want you guys to realize and understand that this country is ran on elders. The older people run America. Young people don't. I don't care how much money you have, you don't run America. Older people do. And when you start to realize that, you might start to make better projections for your life and go, hey, I ain't got to figure all this out at 30 or 40 just because these women telling me I'm broke and dusty and you need to have your life figured out and have your goals figured out. No, you need to understand there's a long game to play. And as long as you keep putting yourself in position year after year, or take a step back, take another step, 2-3 steps forward, and go through the process, y'all start looking at life different. I think y'all too caught up on hoping somebody's going to give you an information that's going to change your life and go, wow, thank you so much. You just changed my life. I don't come. Go ahead,
Aaron. Oh, well, let me ask you, Arpain, do you agree with Aaron on that sentiment?
Yeah, he's going down the right path.
So that it don't matter how much money you got as a young person, the power is controlled by the older people.
Well, no. He said a lot of things other than just that.
I'm talking about that last part.
That last part. Well, the old people do run this country, but
yeah, that's why I blame you niggas for all the fuck ups.
Hold on for a second though, before you go off. I didn't come up here to argue about that. I mean, I think people look at this thing through the prism of their life. I know you do, Sway. My life is different. I'm a baby boomer, right? And when I said on my super chat that I know hundreds of baby boomers who passed on good information to their kids, you guys call me a liar. I went to college. I was the first person in my family to go to, the first generation to go to college. I met white people there. They were second and third. That's the infrastructure of the difference that we're talking about. Right, my grandfather, who was a greatest generation guy, left me an inheritance. Not a lot of money, but just like you said, Sway, it doesn't have to be generational wealth from the standpoint. But the point is, I had a grandfather who had his own kids. They had kids, and he had enough to leave me some of his inheritance. It wasn't a lot, but it was something, and that sparked something in me while I was a young man. That shit. It didn't make me rich. It didn't do anything, but that's the difference. So when we look at our black athletes, where Gilbert Arenas is absolutely right, because we're looking at first generation guys who are running into wealth, whereas some of their white counterparts might be second or third. And you had to stop it there? Okay. Hey, it froze up, Black David. At least for me, it did. All right, but that's cool. Well, let me just tell you, the point I was making there was that, you know, the whole issue was that black athletes from Gilbert Arenas have to pay and buy houses for their parents. Maybe the white ones didn't have to do that. But the fact is that I went on to say, and we don't have to go back to that video, I went on to say that when we look at the story of Grant Hill and Jalen Rose. And some of you might remember the argument they had. Jalen Rose called Grant Hill like an Uncle Tom because he had a silver spoon in his mouth. And he got on Grant Hill a lot because Grant Hill wasn't like him because Jalen Rose was from the hood. And then when they finally talked, Grant said, listen, Grant's father was Calvin Hill. He was a successful football player and they were rich. But, Grant finally got to Jalen Rose and told him, listen, Jalen, maybe I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth and you weren't. But both of our kids go to the same school because you made it. Right? I'm passing on what I know for an additional generation. But now that you know what's best for your kids, you're not sending them to the hood. They go to the same school. Their lives are going to be pretty similar. Right? And that's how things progress in society. Right? One generation teaches the next generation. One of the problems that I would say that the baby boomers did, and one of the problems we did have is somehow the conversation talked is more from making life for our children better. It morphed into making life for our children easier. That was a mistake. We weren't supposed to make life for them easier, but our wealth and our knowledge was supposed to open doorways and paths to make their lives better, but they still had to do the work. They still were responsible for the work. And some of us realized that. I know I did. I made my kids work for the stuff that they wanted. I didn't just give it to them, even though we were able to afford some things that their friends couldn't. So I think that was a psychological thing. Hey, Mr. Bennett, how you doing, man? You're up here. I don't know if you wanted to add something right away.
Nah, I'm well. First of all, just wish you first of all, congratulations on the launch of the show on this platform and network. And I just came and say hello. I'm in the middle of some things. I'm gonna try to jump on a little bit later on. But again, you're a valued addition to the network, and so hopefully you'll be able to strike some dialogue that's much needed in these spaces. So I'll be listening in the background. Like I said, I may try to drop back on in a while. But again, all the best on this launch of the show. God bless.
All right, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Hey, let me back up a square. I'm glad you came up. Hey, BMU, man, thank you. I mean, I need to do that. But BMU, thank you for giving me your platform to even say anything. I was going to get to it, but you know what? I should have said that first thing. This is all made possible by the network that you're building. And I want to make sure I do everything to make sure I don't put any kind of bad stain on that. Hey, brother Red Planet, how you doing, man? I know we've been going back and forth.
Hey, what's up?
All right.
I definitely want to hop on. I'm not a boomer, but my mom was a boomer, and I appreciate everything she did for me, man. She taught me a lot of things through, like you say, through the wisdom and just a foundation laid down for me. I wouldn't be able to do the things that I've done. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can't say that I'm, like a P Diddy or whoever, but I've made it.
All right. Hey, man, what's up, Bruman? How you doing, man? Hey, man, welcome. I know we've been going back and forth, man. So I finally see you. I see you on your show. Hey, what's going on, Bruman? So you're gonna stick around, right, Red Planet?
Oh yeah. You want me to drop down?
No. You can stick around.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to know whether you were going to stick around. That's all.
Oh yeah. I would stick around. Yeah.
All right. Hey, Grumman, what's going on, man? What you got?
What's going on, brother?
All right. You got anything to add to what you saw already?
Yeah.
You're a Gen Xer, right?
To me, no, I'm actually a millennium. I looked it up just a few seconds ago. 85 is a millennium. I didn't know that. I thought a millennium was like in 2000s because I was goddamn wrong. But one thing I will say is a lot of people don't understand is not only respect your elders, learn what they're trying to teach you. Like, for example, my instructor was my sensei was mostly a father figure to me. When he taught me like moves, for example, and how I was doing it wrong. It goes like, don't twerk your bones as much because you're going to feel it. Like, yeah, I feel it at my age now, man. I know you're definitely feeling it. But it's stuff like that, like small things, like mechanics. And when you try and teach mechanics, trying to teach you something who's been in the field for so long, or a chef or something like that, the elderly, they are trying to teach you so you don't make the same mistakes. This is why they have 9 fingers and you have 5, for example, and like stupid shit like that. Is people don't listen; they're hard headed.
All right. Okay. Hey, Dr. Steele, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fine, and you?
All right. All right. You got anything to say right now, or you just wait? Did you see the video? Or go ahead. Are you a baby boomer?
No, I'm actually a Gen Xer, but
Okay.
my parents are baby boomers.
Okay. And you have both of your parents in the household?
Yeah, they're still living. Yes.
Okay.
I think about how they raised me, and I watch a lot of movies about the civil rights era, the days of segregation, and my mom lived this stuff. She told me how things were back then, and sometimes it's a lot worse than what we saw in the movies. And it's amazing where our parents, and you said this, our parents want us to be better than them, but not have it a little bit easier. But I think in some ways we are having a little bit easier, and some of us forgot the aspect of, well, what did the baby boomers do to make it easier? They had it much harder. So what they tried to instill in me was, you have to do the work regardless of what advantages that we have, all the opportunities that we have that our boomers didn't. We still have to work at it.
Well, let me. I'm gonna go through a list of things. If you hang around, you're gonna recognize some of these things. So one of the things that I think people forget is that in the 60s and the 70s, the United States was in great turmoil. I mean, we had assassinations, we had drugs, we had all kinds of things going on, and that impacted the way people lived. Not just the boomers, but people from the greatest generation and from the silent generation and the Gen Xers who were still alive. And under all of that stuff going on, all of those pressures, I think people didn't realize, and I think we're starting to realize now, that there was always puppet masters at the top. And the puppet masters made things happen by looking at, throwing different stimuli in the population and seeing how things would transpire, because you could kind of predict how certain people would react based on the stimuli you put in front of them. And sometimes you knew it, sometimes you didn't. And then sometimes you made rules and different things, and there were unintended consequences. So I'm saying all of that was part of the soup that took us from where I was back as a baby boomer to where we are today. And I think when everybody who comes on who says they hate baby boomers, I don't think they're taking all of these factors into account. And I want to talk about some of those in a minute, but go ahead, JT. Go ahead. You got something to say?
No, I just want to say salute to the guys on the panel, man. Salute to you, and congratulations, bro, for being on here.
Yeah,
making your debut, Mr. Payne.
Yeah,
yeah, but I am myself. I am a Gen Xer, so that's
I'm on the young side of the baby boomers. I was like 8 when Gen Xers started, 7, 8. Hey, what's going on, man?
What's going on? What's going on, man?
Right,
yeah,
man, I know you got something to say, brother.
Yeah, I'm on the tail end, like the last crop of Gen X. I was born in 78. Yeah, I was born in 78. So I'm not too far from JT. He's what, 6 years older than me, something like that. Yes, he's still big. He's still big. Yeah, he's very much so big bro for me. But yeah, I'm just what happened was this: the young ones, what they're doing is this is where they see it. Since the older people are the ones in charge, ultimately they're the ones responsible for all the bad stuff that happens. And it seems like what you're trying to convey to them is like, yeah, it's not all bad. Look at the good things we did too. But the young ones are like, no, 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 no. There's bad stuff over here. It's all your fault. But they ignore all the good stuff. That's what it seems like when I see you in these conversations. But what everyone seems to be missing is something that Mr. Bennett brought up in the conversation I had with. I hosted a panel with generation, Gen X and older, and the new and millennials and younger, right?
Okay.
And in that conversation, Mr. Bennett hit a home run in that night when he said what happened was the internet happened. And see, it was once a time where you said it earlier in this broadcast here, where the older generation teaches the younger generation. And so it goes on and on and on. However, when the internet came and became what it has become, now the younger generation, and it happened right on top of our heads. If you're Gen X, it happened right on top of your head. We followed the directions, go to college, get a job, do this. You know what I'm saying? We were following the directions. And that happened. And the world turned right on top of us in the blink of an eye almost. So the rules changed. Now the younger generation, instead of them becoming our subordinates, they became our competition because everything moves so fast.
Right.
The internet sped everything up. And there's no such thing as putting that genie back in the bottle now. So now, in my opinion, we have to find a different way of doing things now. We don't really have a choice because the young ones ain't listening to us. They don't want to. They don't want to listen.
But let me put it to you this way, right? I go from the fact that it's the people who want to listen can listen, and the ones who don't won't. And I think we should not waste too much more emotional currency trying to change people's minds. Right? Because we all, collectively, there's an emotional currency quotient, and then individually, we all have emotional currency. And that shit gets burned pretty fast, wasting your time on people who don't want to listen. Right? And, because ultimately, God gives people free will. And so we don't have the right not to let them have free will too. So my point is, the internet age, the age we live in, is an age where you have more opportunity to do things than you ever did in your life. Period. Right? And you could take advantage of that, or you could let that destroy you. Right? I mean, so that's the key. That's what you got to tell people. Right? So then say, so in order, if you want to keep, of course we get into these spaces, and I'm not even going to go there, but I'm going to just say it real quickly. When the guys have a lot of trouble with finding girlfriends to go on dates with, right? That's only because, right, they're getting too wrapped up in all the bullshit they hear, right? Because essentially she's a girl and you're a boy, right? You need to figure that shit out because we all have nature. Women have a nature and we have a nature. That's where you need to connect, not on all the trappings that we hear around here. And that's what I'm saying. But a lot of people say, well, you haven't dated for a million years. Well, that's true, except for the fact that my wife has never stopped being a woman. My wife never stopped being a woman. So I always go back to that. So anyway, so what I wanted to do, guys, is this. I put a list of events that shaped, and I got this from the internet. It says a list of events that shaped baby boomers' personalities, right? Things that impacted the whole nation, everybody. But the baby boomers kind of lived through it. So remember now, baby boomers, other people were alive too. So it wasn't just us. But let's just kind of focus on the baby boomers. And I'm going to just read some of this stuff out for you so you don't have it. Baby boomers, we said, was from 1946 to 1964. So I'm so there could be a list of a million things, but I got around 20 something stuff. We don't have to dwell on all of them. But if we just start in 1954, there was the McCarthy era, where McCarthyism was accusing everybody of being communist, especially if you didn't agree with the party line. Right? We have something similar to the McCarthy era going on now with the ADL, right? If you say anything about, small hats, all of a sudden, so we still have those kind of things. But there were baby boomers who were young at that time But, so they were at the tail end of that. So their parents mostly got the brunt of that. We had Rosa Parks in 1995. She refused to go to the back of us. Baby boomers were alive for that. The first nuclear power plant was opened in 1957. So the baby boomers were coming up and growing up in that era too. So Kennedy became president in 1960. The FDA, here's a big one. And here's a big one, and nobody wants to really delve into this. You can probably make all kinds of lives about this one. The birth control pill was released by the FDA in 1960. And the birth control pill changed everything sexually for women. And nobody really wants to talk about that. So the baby boomers were young. They was 14. They was 16 years old when the pill came out. Right. So young women was just starting to exercise some of their sexuality, even though there was a lot of chaste women back then. But their mothers and their sisters who were older and some of the younger, more voluptuous, silent generation women started to see this as freedom. Started to say, listen, man, I could have sex without reprisal for the first time in my life. So the cultural things that kept and society thing that kept them back was starting to lift. And now it's completely unbridled, right? So anyway, so that's just something. So the baby boomers lived with that during that era. In 1960, the second wave of feminism came about. Second wave equality, ending discrimination against women. But the big thing about second wave feminism, it spread to the whole West. It wasn't just the United States. They spread it around they started to spread it around the world. Okay. So, and then of course, in 62, there was a Cuban Missile Crisis. 63, Martin Luther King led the March on Washington. Then Kennedy was assassinated in 63. Malcolm X was assassinated in 65. But in 1964, right, was the Civil Rights Bill, right, where they finally said, well, Black folks deserve the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, just like everybody else. For what that was worth. Baby boomers were just about 18 to 20 years old now. All right, so there was a lot of those things were consequential activities that impacted people's lives. So I'm gonna keep going. In 1965, there was the Moynihan Report, and the Moynihan Report, I think some of you guys are familiar with hearing about the Moynihan Report. And the Moynihan Report, and Dr. Steele, I guess you're familiar with that, and I guess I know you heard about JT, all you guys. If you haven't. The crux of that report was that Black people were so disenfranchised that just telling Blacks that, you know what, you got civil rights bill passed, just pick yourself up by the bootstraps and catch up with the rest of society. It kind of the crux of the Moynihan Report said, no, we got to give special consideration to the Blacks to get them, help them catch up. The unintended consequence of that was that when women had to choose that extra money that they were going to get from the government or keep the Black dude around, they chose the money. And they kicked the Black man out the house. So they take a hit for that. But then it kind of makes a little bit, I'm not going to say it makes sense, but think about the divorce rate now, not just for Blacks, where women understand that if they marry a man of means, they could wait till they're fully vested and kick him out the house and take his money with him. Why have that asshole around when I could just have his money without anybody telling me what to do? So in today's thing, that's exactly what they're doing. That's no different than Black women choosing to say, listen, shit, if I could do bad all by myself, if this dude's making minimum wage, but I still got to wash his feet, but the government's going to give me almost the same amount of money, why do I need him around? And that's a decision that some of them made. So I mean, that's the way I look at what happened back then. You know, so if you were well-to-do, the woman probably kept you around a little bit longer. She didn't worry about that. But it was no lie that the inspectors used to come around to black women's house to make sure they didn't have no men in the house. You know, so that's not a lie. So so that's another watershed moment that directly impacted baby boomers because the women were of age then too. They weren't the oldest. There was a lot of silent generation women still around, but there was a lot of baby boomers of age and married because people got married younger back then. Go ahead.
Can I say one thing? Because it's
Yeah,
funny. Because,
jump in. I mean, you guys, I got a few more things on the list, but go ahead.
yeah. So I know one of the things that you said was very impactful, and that was the birth control, right? Before we go into that, my parents were born in '50, so they were 10 years old when a lot of this stuff was going on. So it explains to me why they didn't know a lot of these things that was going on, because they didn't have the conversations we have right now, right? They didn't read the doctrine that we read right now. It was a lot different with education. How it was, this was like they had to really, really fight for education, to be educated, to go to a lot of schools, especially if they were in the South and things like that. Right. But my parents had large families. They had a lot of siblings during that time. It explains why now. They had a lot. It wasn't because, you know, women were just, you know, screwing and you know, like now that you have these small families, that women were smarter now. No, it was because they had contraceptive that would keep them from being pregnant. If it wasn't for that, they would have just as many kids. The difference will be with their generation, and was with their generation and with the silent generation, was the fact that they were not with the men anymore. They were not with the men. And even when you even look at the silent generation, and I mentioned this to a lot of people because I've seen it with my own eyes. You had a lot of men that had multiple families. They had families that were right across town from one another, and that was all through the United States. A lot of people don't want to talk about that too. They don't want to talk about the aunties and the uncles that they had that did not have the same mom. You didn't have women that were taking care of multiple households. You had men that were taking care of multiple households. It was a big difference with the two. Right. You also had, when you had the what was it, the report you was just talking about? Because I remember
report.
Right. I remember it was started to be more and more refined. So my parents, when I can really think of it, my parents was like 27 years old, right? This was like in the probably like mid 70s.
Ladies and gentlemen,
mid 70s.
Yes, sir.
Sorry to cut you through. You have a youngin called Sway in the Morning coming in to let you know.
Okay.
All right.
That's what's up.
Hey, what's going on? I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know what has been said, what has happened, what has developed, or nothing, right? I was just DM'd and told that what did he say? I think he said something about our pain being out of touch or something like that, or he just don't know what he's talking about and he need a little support from a youngin. He said, what did he say? He said it's not the boomers' fault, it's the Gen X fault or something, or it's our fault? Somebody's fault.
We didn't blame anything on Gen X.
Well, anyway, Sway, you know what? We're not laying blame to anybody. We're just having a general conversation. Kind of, do we just piggyback off of that time I came on Fight Club and talked to you guys?
Okay.
You know, and I guess it was one of the more cordial conversations on Fight Club. You know, it's kind of funny saying it was Fight Club. But anyhow, you didn't miss anything. You didn't really
He said that you said the boomers ain't responsible as to why the younger generations are trash.
No. I said that the younger generation that blame their plight on the boomers only have part of the story, and they're not looking at the whole picture. That's more accurate.
Okay.
That's more accurate.
Yeah, someone gave you some information out of context, Way. That's what it sounds like it happened.
So where do I fall in this conversation? I feel like
you don't. You don't.
Points enough.
No. I wouldn't
say that. You don't fall
that.
in the conversation. No one mentioned you.
No, I wouldn't say
it's not
don't.
Me, but how I think.
You can fit in where you want to fit in if you want to listen to what we're talking about. But It's what I said to you when we were on Fight Club. I said that there's a dichotomy that was built when I went to college, and I was when I put out that super chat that said there was hundreds and hundreds of black baby boomers who were successful and did right by their children, and you guys poo-pooed that, and I told you why, and I can tell you why again. Well, and the reason why I know is because I know hundreds of black men and women who went to college and they were baby boomers, and their lives are pretty good, and so are their kids. However, there were thousands of black folks left behind, right? And so those thousands gave birth to some of the problems that you guys might face now. But
So
that's
what
why
your argument is that not all is not all
now,
argument?
my argument is that not only is not all, it's that a tremendous amount were good. That's why most of the leaders in the country are baby boomers. And so captains of industry are baby boomers. It's
That don't even make
undeniable.
sense. That don't even make sense, R-Pain.
Of course it does.
So if the majority are you saying the majority or like what's the percentages? What are we saying?
Listen to hold on, Sway. The baby boomers were born from 46 to 64,
63,
right?
64.
Yeah, 64. Their ages now would be 57 to 77. There's a tremendous amount of corporate men and women in their 50s and 60s still living, doing well, having children, building communities.
I asked you what's the percentage of R-Pain?
Wait. I don't know. I didn't research this.
You didn't gotta give me an exact percentage. You're basing this on the idea that there was enough good boomer men and boomer
I didn't ask you to
families
give me the
to
percentage
offset
of the
the
people
difference.
who messed up. Then you give me the percentage of the people who messed up then.
R-
It's not about
R-Pain,
percentages.
your argument is that there was a great amount of boomer men and families that are highly successful, right?
Yeah.
But I'm asking you, what is that number compared to all the rest?
You know what? To me, it's immaterial.
Immaterial. So if it was 1% compared to 99%, it wouldn't matter to you because you're just worried about 1%.
Breathe. Can you breathe for a second?
Breathe. You keep interrupting me. I'm breathing fine.
Okay, let me breathe for a second. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I think it's inconsequential. Because we're living in a country that's one of the greatest countries in the world. We're losing it a little bit. And most of the people who are the captains of industry and in the military and running things are baby boomers.
That's a redundant statement. You're the oldest people in the country, and yes, you guys have all the power. But there's a lot of bro. That's like saying like saying men run this country when it's really a small set of men actually pulling the strings. All the other men are actually under the same suffering that anybody else. So we ain't got power. Most men don't have power. Most men can't pull any strings other than what they provide in their household. But you're not making any real decisions. It's a small majority of men, a small set of men actually making moves and shakes in this country. So what you're saying is that 10%, let's just say 10% of the boomer men were successful because only 10% of the people in the United States make over 100,000, right? So you're talking about this high corporate and these corporate execs and da-da-da-da. So I'm assuming they make over six figures. And in the United States, only 10% of people make six figures. So I'm just trying to understand how this 10 to less than 10% of men is so significantly amount that we should be discussing how it affected the majority of a generation. When we're talking about the majority of a generation and we're talking about millennials crying or even some Gen Xers, a lot of Gen Xers blame you guys for the problems. So you're talking about Gen Xers, millennials, and now Gen Zs, if they were to blame you guys for the problem, you think we're the crazy ones?
No, Sway.
Nobody's talking about
less than 10% of boomers as the example of good, successful men.
Let somebody.
Wait. I didn't finish my point, but you want to interrupt, and I'll have to let somebody else jump in. I would expect you're talking. You wouldn't want me to interject either, correct?
Listen. What we do on this platform, man, we actually have conversations with each other. We don't keep talking at each other, throwing stuff out. That's what we do. We just have conversations. We're not out here trying to be contentious with this.
Well, I've had conversations with Art Payne about this before when I'm asking him
Hey,
what are the numbers and what is the point of bringing up a
He's
small
already told you
subset.
he doesn't have a quantifying number, bro. You gonna keep going?
Bro, you keep interrupting me and not letting me finish my statement. Because, like I said, I've had these conversations with Art Payne before, and I asked him, okay, what is the percentages or what is the point of bringing up this small subset of people that have no bearing on the majority of the conversation? Because when we're talking about majority of boomers, then we're obviously not talking about the small set of men that he's talking about.
Sway, can somebody else say something now? I'm telling you that the amount of boomers that were successful is significant, whether it was 10% or 20%. That's why our country's still running the way it runs. And that doesn't say that there was a lot of folks who were born because we have a class divide to the lower classes. And in any society, there's always more people in the lower classes than the higher classes. And the only reason why the country stays together is because the smaller percentage of people keep that glue together. That's why I don't care about the percentages, because whatever the percentage is why we still have a United States of America. Maybe it's falling apart, but the majority of the people don't make this goddamn country run. It's a small amount of goddamn people, Sway. It always is. In every society, it's a small amount of people who keep the society running. That's it. That's just human nature. And so when we try to say this whole group is effed up because the majority of people are messed up, I mean, you're not saying anything so earth-shattering. The point is the people who got it together can hold it together under the conditions of human nature. So there's always going to be more people at the bottom of that pyramid than at the top. That's not unique to the United States.
Art Payne, when you mentioned this, it was under the premise that it was a percentage of boomers that aren't doing the things y'all are talking about, and they're highly successful and are leading their families, right?
That's right.
But it had no bearing on the conversation because we were talking about the majority of you guys and how y'all fucked up the next generation of people.
You were talking about the majority of us.
The conversation, Art Payne. That's always going to be the conversation. We're always going to talk about the majority of anything. We're not going to talk about the small.
So you think if boomers fuck everything up?
Oh my days! What?
No, but Sway,
I'm asking a question.
Point.
What's the question, sir?
Are you saying the boomers fucked everything up?
Yeah, essentially, yes.
I don't blame just the boomers personally, sir. I blame the Gen X and the boomers, especially when you're talking about the black community, because that's where the conversation was stemming from. I'm going to blame the Gen X and the boomers, sir. They're no different to me.
But I blame today's society. I blame the
so you blame
the bullshit.
Oh, wait, no, Art Payne, hold on. Wait, Art Payne. He said he blames society, correct? You said you blame society?
Yeah, I'll say right now.
So
yeah,
who
are the ones to get pussy?
Who are the ones running society, sir, and making all these shifts and changes and has power, like Art Payne says?
Listen, you know
the boomers that Art Payne's talking about, right?
So so
society's fucked up. The only ones you can blame are the people with power and can move and shake and cause these changes, right? And those are the boomers he's talking about.
They actually fucking knew how to work back then.
Art Payne, with your boy. He's mad that he can't. Art Payne, he fucked your argument up, Art Payne. You didn't speak.
Brothers, we're not going to have the argument.
I fucked it up here, okay.
Not the engineer here. I'm hoping you will have a great dialogue.
Yeah, I was getting back. I was going to get it back.
I'm being nice right now, David. You know that.
Let me get it back, Dave. Hey, Sway, listen. You guys might be arguing about majority. That was never my conversation. Just because I didn't agree with what y'all was saying, and I still don't.
That's
just
fine,
like you. Wait, hold on for a second though, before you go off.
I'm not going off.
Okay, I'm just hold on for a second. I'm allowing you to speak your mind. I understand where you're coming from. I just don't agree with it. Just like you don't agree with me. That doesn't make you're not 100% wrong, and I know I'm not wrong. So two things could be right at the same time.
So can we move? Or I'm not going to. We move it off of that. Move it off to what your boy said on how society's fucked, right? But in the same argument you just had with me is that the ones who run society are the boomers.
Well, hold on for a second, Sway.
The ones who make all the changes and have all the power in the country and the highly successful in these corporate positions are the boomers. Yes or no?
Sway, hold on for a second. I'm not going to go down that path because
why? Because you know it's against your argument. How it's the boomers' fault? And your boy, that's the argument your boy wanted to have.
He's not my boy. He can have his own opinion.
Can I say something real fast?
He can have his own opinion. I don't agree with his opinion. So we're all individuals here, but he's free to say.
So you don't agree that the ones that are running society are the boomers?
Let me finish. Swear you gotta let me finish.
I'm asking you questions. You haven't been able to answer them.
You gotta let me finish. I'm telling you that he doesn't speak for me and I don't speak for him. So you can't make what he said to you.
I didn't make I'm not using what he said to say you're wrong, right? I asked you a question, Arpain, to build a different premise. I asked you a different question on society being fucked, right? And then I asked you, who are the ones running society, Arpain?
And the baby boomers have a lot to do with the way the society is running today.
So if the society's fucked, it's probably majority blame on the boomers since they're the ones running it, correct? They're the ones in power, correct? They have all the power, the money, they run everything, right?
You can't be going that hard.
One at a time, guys.
They're fucking dumb. They don't understand how they talk over each other and they interrupt each other's arguments.
Yeah, CBM, put them down for a second. Listen. Listen. He doesn't want to have a conversation.
Not at all.
So and that's unfair. That's so who's this?
Hey, detailed.
Yeah, go ahead.
You gotta take your time with them youngsters now.
I don't want to bring him down because his whole premise that
bring my boy Sway back, man. Don't do that to Sway, man.
But he's got to be cool. Go ahead, G-Town. You wanted to say something too.
Look, what Malcolm X say? That boy hungry.
Yeah, I'm glad he came forward though. I wonder, but if we could have a conversation, that would be great. Yeah, you had something to say? I forgot your name. I don't know why I forgot your name. You had anything else to say? There was a sister in the middle. Yeah.
Oh, Coach K. Coach K.
Yeah, Coach K. Yeah, I didn't see your name under there, Coach K.
Oh no, you're good.
Or you just came up here to broke a piece.
Well, yes. Well, maybe, but I'm kind of in the middle.
Coach K, I ain't see you in a minute.
I know, how's it going, guys?
There's a question on the table here too, so we're gonna have to get to it. But go ahead, Coach K.
Sure, I'll be quick. So you can get to that question. I kind of am in the middle here in the sense that I think that boomers did. Well, first of all, I don't like blaming anything on just one variable. I think blaming doesn't really help anyway. I think we can address issues by looking at the root causes, but at the same time, I mean, I just don't know if it's helpful to blame a whole generation of people, but I think it is okay to say like one generation of, people do kind of, their behaviors are this way. Now that we have technology, Gen Z, they're behaving a certain way. I think that's fine. It can be pretty much seen as neutral. Now, I think boomers did, and correct me if I'm wrong, they had to grow up compared to now, a tougher life, but that I think they babied the crap out of their kids in a way. But that's not for all, though. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that I would do anything different. I did grow up, with not very well off. And I want to give my kids the best, but that doesn't mean I'm going to let them just be, lazy and stuff like that. So I don't know. I kind of see both sides to it. But I don't think it's fair to just say one generation is to blame for all of the nation's problems.
Okay, the craziest part about that is me, Arpain, Doc, and a couple other guys. We've seen the boomers as teenagers. We've seen the boomers as kids. We've seen them grow up. This is what we're trying to say. So to have somebody that wasn't even born during that time come up here and just start talking about who you blame. We ain't talking about blame. Blame is crazy. Then we just go to bed. We're trying to give rhyme to the reason, right? And so when you have Arpain that's saying, listen, let me mark history with these things, right? because it was things that he can anecdotally look at and see why he probably didn't even understand why they were going on at the time. Now he understands as an older man now, right? It's the same thing with the boomers. There was a lot of things that they did not understand as kids. They still were kids and they were growing up to be people. You got to remember, we had a bunch of boomers that ended up dying. They ended up having families. They went over to Vietnam and they were gone.
I was going to get to that. So I was going to get to all of that. And I was even going to touch on what you said about how boomers had, some of the boomer kids had it hard, because I was going to get through my story. And then, and why I made sure that my kids would never see the things that I saw. Right. So that's why I take umbrage with people. And it's unfortunate that Sway doesn't want to have a conversation. He just wants to yell. And that's and I hate that. I'm not going to say anything more disparaging about that.
Hey, R-Pain, let me ask you something, OG.
Go ahead.
Because I hear that from a lot of my OGs and my aunties. I don't like to call, I like, but that's wisdom shit. I'm trying to get where y'all at shit. You feel me? So I heard that a lot from y'all, but I'm like, do you think that the way that y'all grew up, that y'all thought that it wasn't, like, y'all really thought that it wasn't the right way to grow, like go that way? And now that we have the effect of the children now, because honestly, y'all really gave us a great childhood. You get what I'm saying? We didn't go through nothing what y'all went through, but I see why we were a little bit more arrogant, or a little bit more, let's say, like, entitled. You get what I'm saying? Because I believe that y'all should have basically made us grow up a little bit, somewhat like y'all grew up. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like we don't care about shit.
Tell you why.
I gotta hear the history, though, bro. You gotta hear the history.
Let me tell you why, though. And I mentioned this early on. Maybe you weren't here. I think one of the problems, and I did say baby boomers have to take a hit for this.
Yeah.
Some of the baby boomers who did have intact families, what they wanted to do was give their kids a better life. The problem was that morphed into giving their kids what they considered an easier life. And that's where the entitlement came.
Right, because I was just about to say, what's a better life? What would be a better life? I'm just asking questions.
Okay, let me tell you. I can tell you what a better life is.
Yeah, talk to me.
If I'm a college graduate, and I was an engineer back in the days where I was the only black person in the whole damn department. And so I was able to get a job coming right out of college. I was able to start to build my career early. I was 24. And I had a good career with a good growth path. So when I finally got married, I was stepping through trying to get to the highest thing I can. So when my kids were born, and I was going to get through this, and maybe I should do it now. See, because I was just kind of say, I knew when my kids were born, I was going to make sure they went to the best schools I could afford. I was going to make sure that me and the wife had a good relationship, so they didn't have to grow up in a single parent household, which so many of my peers did. I was going to make sure that they finished school. And one of the biggest goals since I had girls was to make sure I got them to adulthood without carrying some asshole's baby. And I did that too. So they're grown women and they're on their way. But I didn't raise them to be independent. I raised them to be self-sufficient. So when they find whoever they're going to find, they could at least hang on. They could hold their own in any relationship, because their mother's all women. She was a college grad as well. So that's what makes a kid's life better. Plus, I set them up with, accounts. When they got their jobs, they got money. They got more money in their 20s than I ever had. They got their 401ks, their Roths. They have all those kind of things. That makes their life, that puts them on a glide path to success a whole lot sooner than it happened for me. And definitely what happened for their grandparents. That's what I mean by better. Now, what they make of their life with all of that, it's up to them.
But it was up to you, though,
but let me say
too,
this, though.
as a parent. You know what I mean? Right.
Go
like
ahead, go ahead.
really quick, but what you just outlined, I think, is not unique to that generation. I think every single parent, in a perfect world, of course, but every single parent can do that. You know,
I agree with you, but every single parent didn't do that. And you know,
and still aren't.
that's right. And it was a significant, and this is the point about the argument about baby booms. The reason why I was on that track and thousands of others weren't, because my career path took me through college. There was thousands, especially in the Black community, of people who didn't go. They stayed in the hood. They stayed where there was a lot more crime. I left. Right? So that means the dichotomy between me and the people in the hood started to grow. We got a class divide in the Black community. A lot of people don't want to realize that. Just like you got a class divide in the white community. There's white people who wouldn't have nothing to do with the people in the trailers. They don't even want to acknowledge them. You know? So all I'm just trying to say is we have that dichotomy. And then both of those dichotomies, they grow, right? There's a whole bunch of kids who are kids from the folks who stayed in the hood. And then there's a bunch of kids, maybe not as many, or the children of the people who moved away. They don't think the same. They just don't. And
Can I say this, R-Pain?
Yes, sir.
And I think, okay, and let me just say, if I'm selfish, then let me know as a youngster. You get what I'm saying? Right. But yes, college and those things was great. That's what you did for your daughter. But I think what we missing is that family unit that child had. And I think that's really the problem. That family, that connection of community, that connection of auntie, that connection of uncles. That's what I think we're missing right now, as far as the young pups. So now, yeah, y'all gave us a greater life, far as money wise, far as like material things. We can buy things, we can do what we have to do, you know. But I don't see that family need that child had that we have now.
D-Town, wait, D-Town, before anybody else, let me tell you, everything I just said also includes what you just said. Because my family was tight as hell. And let me also say the Gen X's and the Gen Z's and the millennials in my family, the only reason why those girls who had unwed kids survived was because the boomers were married and they buffered all the bullshit some of the young kids did. Because our families were still together. And those people are dying off. In my family, I had there was a cadre of my younger sibling cousins who had babies, all in the same year, 5 of them, and all spread out through the cousins and the aunts, 5 of them. Each one of those kids actually went to college. All of the ladies who had those single kids, the guys are nowhere around, but they finished their schooling. You know why? Because the safety net that was there by the baby boomers. That safety net is dying. You know, so there was baby boomers who actually did take care of their unwed kids. Nobody went hungry. Nobody went homeless in my family. None of that shit.
Right. Which I'm with you on that.
So what I'm trying to say is that my family wasn't only unique.
Yes, sir.
So, but hold on, I don't want to derail this by going tit for tat. I'm not going to be able to say everything to make everybody assuaged, but to say that the baby boomers fucked shit up, some of them did.
Nah, y'all
I don't
did.
agree with that.
Nah, ain't no some of y'all. Your entire generation fucked up a society. And I can explain how, because I've already had to do the research on this. Your entire generation is the most selfish generation of all time, and it's not even close. It's not even close. Let me take you through 11 reasons why your generation screwed our society. First of all, our economy is shit because of y'all. You cut education. You shifted from entry-level jobs to unpaid internships. You guys went colorblind on racism. You never wanted to attack it and actually deal with it. The housing market is trash because of y'all. You didn't want to increase minimum wage. You kept everybody at the same level, didn't want to raise it. You destroyed Social Security. College is unaffordable and everybody in debt. Food regulations. The food is terrible. I don't even understand. That's why we're fat. We're the fattest country in the world.
Yeah, right.
irreversible damage to the environment. That was y'all. Y'all were in charge when this happened. And y'all ruined your own reputation by shitting on all the other younger generations that came behind y'all, trying to make it seem like they were the problem. Gen X is not the problem. The millennials are not the problem. And Gen Z is not the problem. Y'all are. Plain and simple.
Listen, I hear you just rattle off of stuff. I don't agree, but we're not going to go down that path. You said what you had to say, so I hope you feel all right. But I'm just going to say I'm going to finish what I'm going to do, because I'm not laying blame here, because I don't think anybody's blameless, and I don't believe that anybody's completely to blame for everything, because all the shit that you're saying, we still had a country that was at one point the greatest country on the face of this earth. And
at one point,
that's
ran
right.
by the silent generation.
At one point, and it wasn't your generation. It was my grandmother's generation.
At one point, it was, and now that's kind of starting to go away for a lot of different kind of reasons, right? And it's not just the baby boomers. That's just bullshit, right? You guys might makes you feel good, but it's bullshit. You know, so I mean, it's not blameless, but it's not. It doesn't tell the whole story. So I'm gonna go finish.
I'm not going to argue with you, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not, because my biggest argument is to the people who put blame. Right? Since you're not putting blame, I'm not arguing with you, because for the most part, my only pushback is when they've tried to shift blame on the younger generation, like mine, Gen Zs, and try to hold us accountable for shit, but don't want to look in the mirror. There's no way that you're going to hold my generation accountable when you don't even hold yourselves accountable for the shit that y'all do, right? And this is not talking to you, Arpain. No, this is for the ones that put blame, right? The ones that try to say, oh, look at these young generations, they fucking up. I'm like, all right, if we're going to do it that way, the father is such a big impact, the family unit is such a big impact, right? Like, you play such a big impact as to why your daughters are where they are. So my thought process is two. You either weren't there as a father, you were ex-nate from the house, or you didn't do your job. Right. So to all these people, to these younger generations, most of our parents are Gen X or boomers. That's why in my opinion, when they put blame, I don't see no difference between you two, because y'all both fucked up, because the millennials are going to complain about y'all, and then the Gen X are going to also low-key complain about y'all for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't know why they blame you guys. I feel like they should blame the older boomers, but they pretty much dead, ain't they?
No, well, you know what? Some of them in their 70s.
Because aren't there the two generation of boomers?
So what? Say that again?
Don't they have like two generations? It's like the boomers is like the longest.
From 46 to 64.
I thought it was from like 40 to 64.
46. From 46 to 64.
Right after the war ended in 45?
Which war are you talking about? World War
II. Yes, two.
Hey, listen, before we go on, what I want to say is there was still some things that was going on this list that impacted us all. Not just the boomers, but the Gen Zers. And you're right, Sway. Reason why I came up here, I'm not trying to point fingers on anybody or take blame away. I'm trying to say that there were other factors that impacted all of us. And nobody likes to believe this shit, but there's puppet masters that run things and impact everybody. And people may act differently, but this whole notion that the boomers acted in some kind of vacuum to fuck things up, it's just not true. It's just not.
You're repeating yourself. You're just repeating. You keep saying the same thing over and over and over.
When they stop having like paddling and like having, whooping your kids, wasn't it with y'all generation and stuff?
Actually, I just found a chart on that.
Before we move on
about obedience.
Can I ask Arpain a quick question? Arpain, in this conversation, are you open to being wrong at all?
Yes, I am. But the point is that my argument is not about right or wrong. I'm trying to say that more than one thing could be true at the same time. Because I know the baby boomers are not blameless.
But if we're talking about 95% of y'all, and we're not talking about the 5% that you're a part of,
these percentages.
Like, I'm just saying, like, there's too many different examples that we have, from the family unit dying to social dynamics to how the country and society is being ran today, to say that it ain't of like we're just gonna keep
I don't know
pinpointing
about
to y'all, bro.
95%, Sway. Not
Okay,
95%.
let's play. Let me
The
see.
country
What
is
is that
being
gonna
ran by
do?
boomers
What is that
right
gonna
now.
fucking do though?
The
What
country
is
is being
that
ran by
gonna do?
boomers right now. The majority
I
of
said
people
that.
that are in power are boomers.
I said
What
The
that.
you say,
majority of them
OG?
are boomers.
Bro, this is the thing.
Go
Y'all
ahead,
and
let
y'all
OG
keep
talk.
trying to go to this whole thing of blaming. Okay, but we still saying that there's still something that goes with that. Y'all still gonna understand. Boomers came from what y'all call the silent generation. Silent generation came from who was our slavery, right? So when you talking about boomers, how many boomers? I'm from Detroit. Detroit ain't nothing but the goddamn country. Most of the boomers came from where? Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana. They didn't know anything about economy. They knew that they was gonna come here, get them a job working at a plant because they had that open. But they also had other people that was going and being drafted.
They also smoked a bunch of crack.
To the military. No, that wasn't. See, you see how you said what you said.
He
That was in
just,
the
just,
80s.
yeah,
And
he just losing.
that was a factor, but it wasn't a fact that they was like, "Oh, I see crack. Let's go and deal with this shit."
All I'm saying is Gen X said that y'all was the ones that smoked it and they was the ones that dealt it.
But we saying is this, bro. It's not about generation versus generation. For one,
you know the
you a
problem
Gen
is-
Z or you a millennial. This is the thing. If your life is fucked up, it's your fucking fault now that it still be fucked up then. You can blame boomers, you can blame exes, you can blame all of them. What is blaming going to do for your life right now in the present?
Y'all the only ones that sound hurt. We just speaking facts. Y'all the only ones that sound hurt. We just speaking facts, bro. The only ones that try to do shame, blame, explain when we speaking facts,
That's the
bro.
title of the show.
It's
I don't know why y'all trying to
The
shame,
title
blame,
of
and
the show
explain a
is-
nigga, bro.
Hang on,
We speaking
hang on a
facts
second.
about y'all and y'all
Hang on,
hurt.
Sway. Hang on.
Our
The
lives are
title of the
fine.
show-
You just
the
mad we
title
speaking
of the
facts.
show.
Okay, you say your life is fine. All right.
Okay, all right. So,
the
all right.
title of the
You know
show
what the title of the show is.
you're not at fault for somebody's life. That's the title of the show.
Man, Black Man made that shit up so you can get your
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That's the title of the show.
It's a title, bro. It's a title, though. It's a title.
So then we are allowed to talk about it.
Argue about the title.
We're allowed to talk about it. And that's the title.
But hold on, Trey. Should you go with the flow of the conversation?
Let's move on, man. Let's move on. We're not going to argue about the title of the goddamn show. We're not going to do it, man.
I'm not arguing about the title.
Bro.
Listen,
hold on.
We're going to you need to respect me or you're not, man. We're not going to fucking talk about the title of the show, man. Stop it.
Because you don't have any argument. You shouldn't be up there. You're in the wrong spot.
Man, I'm not going to
You need
argue
to be
about
down here
the
with the
title
rest
of
of
the
us. You
show,
shouldn't
man.
be
Let's
there.
move on. Let's just move on, man. That's all I'm
You
asking.
haven't made one solid point since you've been up there. You just keep repeating yourself.
Sway asked me a question. I'm moving on. You're either going to let me move on or you're not. That's all I'm asking you. Just chill out for a goddamn second, please. Hey, Sway, listen, I ain't blaming. I'm not saying I can't be wrong. I'm saying more than one thing could be true. And I want to finish going through my list of things.
If we acknowledge yours, you have to acknowledge ours.
I did already. I just
That's
acknowledged.
great. They're saying we have never denied your truth that there is a subset of blacks or boomers that are fine and doing well and they're upstanding citizens and it did not fuck up this country. But we ain't speaking about them great boomers. We're speaking about the majority of boomers who are fucking up the country. And we just want that point to be acknowledged, and we're going to accept your acceptance to the rule. We'll accept your acceptance to the rule.
Okay, fine. So let me finish my list because I got some other things on this list I think will impact it to all of us. And it's only a few more items. Okay, listen. In '66, the National Organization of Women was founded. '67, the American Indian Movement, for whatever that was worth. But in '68, Martin Luther King was assassinated. That impacted us all, right? Right. So that was the Gen X's were young, but the baby boomers bear a lot of brunt of that, and so did the silent generation. Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated in '68. In '69 was the moon landing, right? '70 was the pinnacle of what happened in Vietnam when they murdered those kids in Kent State based on the protests. Baby boomers bear a big brunt of that damn war. I remember my grandmother going crazy when my cousin, who was a poster child for the family, went. He signed up. Dad almost put her in the hospital. Roe v. Wade.
Hey, that's what I do. Love y'all for though. I ain't gonna lie. I love y'all for that.
Right. Well,
For going to war for it.
Let me finish this. 73, Roe v. Wade, watershed amount, and this impacted Black people more than anything else. You know why? Because it was an acknowledgement of Margaret Sanger's eugenics program, and we've been 13% of the population from 1973 till now, because more than 20 million Black babies were killed and still being killed because of Roe v. Wade. So that was big. That was just a lot of baby boomers. The pill and Roe v. Wade was a big impact on the way all of us live, or not living. Then, of course, in 80, let me see, 78 was the birth of the 401k program, and in 80 was almost the death of all pension plans. You know, most people couldn't work until they retired and expect the job to pay for them. And that was huge too, because the boomers were just starting in the workforce, not just starting, they were, 26, right? Yeah. And they had to, and then there was a new discipline that needed to take place because you had to save for your own retirement. And today, even today, if you ask the rank and file person what percentage of money they're putting in their 401k, it would be pathetic, right? So there was some learning that needed to go on there. So, and the boomers didn't learn the lesson that well, and I damn sure didn't teach it as well as they could have. All right, so listen. So there was a lot of watershed stuff that impacted us all in the 70s and 80s and 60s. Okay, the crime bill, it was later on. Drugs, the war on drugs, that was a big one. Nixon in 71, the war on drugs. I missed that one. Mass incarceration, that was 71. That impacted a lot of people. It took a lot of Black men disproportionately and put them in jail. A lot of women were on crack. A lot of stuff happened back then that impacted the way we lived. It wasn't just the baby boomers. Gen Xers took a big hit on that one because there was no guidance for them. So all I'm just trying to say is we have to look at things in total, and two things could be right. Two things could be true at the same time. But trying to say one generation is responsible, and even if you did, let's just say, let's go by the premise of what you said, Sway and Trey. Baby boomers fucked everything up. Okay, what do we do about that shit now? What do we do about it now? I'm sorry, what do we do about it now? I mean, you're shaking your head.
I can't stand these fucking solution shows. Nobody here has the power to make any of those solutions. It's such a fucking stupid question. It's a dumbass question that say, what are we going to do now? We're not going to do anything, okay? And you want to know why we're not going to do it? Because the average age of the Senate right now is 65. That's still boomers. Y'all are still in control at this very moment. Do you know the average age of Congress? The average age of Congress is 58. It just dropped to the age of Generation X. This last election, it just dropped. Y'all have been screwing us for years, bruh, and y'all won't take accountability for it at all. You won't even say, listen, we made mistakes and we got to try to help y'all fix it. We don't know what the millennials will do yet because we're not in those positions of power yet to run the country. We're not there yet. Y'all are still in control to this day. The Senate average age 65. That's baby boomers.
Okay.
I said that.
Yes, I said that in the beginning of the show, by the way. Go ahead, Coach K.
Can CBN share this chart that I sent to the private chat?
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, if you're going to speak to it.
I just want people to look at it. I think it's interesting.
Go ahead.
Changing, hearing, valuing.
So yeah. So it's how they value obedience, and this it comes from the book appropriately titled. Let me pull it up. The Narcissism Epidemic: Living in the Age of Entitlement.
Okay.
So I just want y'all to look at that because we kind of touched on that a little bit. I think with the parenting, I don't know if it was Trey or I don't know if someone did, but I just wanted to show that. I think it's interesting.
Good boy, D-Town.
Or yeah, it was D-Town. Okay.
Okay.
Just want to. Oh yes, it was you detailed. I just wanted to add that. What do you think about that, Mr. Payne?
Yeah, Payne, y'all was too soft on us, bro. Y'all shouldn't never put y'all foot off our ass. That was the problem, I think. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you a question about the chart.
Mm-hmm.
You asked me a question, but
The chart.
I'm looking at this chart.
How accurate can it be? Because everybody's. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Groomy. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is the chart cannot be that accurate because it depends how you've been raised, also, isn't it?
So it's a general consensus, bro. It's a general consensus. So, of course, what you're saying is absolutely right on how they got the study. So we have to look at how they got the study, okay? So what they're showing you is a general consensus of how it dropped from obedience. Now, if you go deeper and deeper to the study, then you will start looking at all the other numbers and things like that. It's just giving you a snapshot of how it looked and how far it went down.
Okay.
It's from a general social survey data. So looks like they and this author also, she wrote the book about iGen or Gen Z, which is fascinating, by the way, but she takes takes her data from many sources, and it's usually from the longest period of data that we have collected, I think. And I'll have to look back into that, but this is from between 1924 to 78, which was the changes in traits desired in children. But that's what that says right there. I mean, but let's just say, I mean, we could find flaws in this study, but let's just take it for face value. What do we think? I mean, I think it's interesting.
Okay, so what I think is, with the rest of society has been pretty much almost hands off on all kinds of fuckery anyway. Right? This doesn't surprise me that the change in parents' value of obedience in children or anything else has been going down. It's we are on almost anything goes society, right? So this doesn't surprise me. So I mean, if we had a chart that went out to 2023, it would
be even lower.
Yeah. So I mean,
but the trend starts from, and I'll have to see if they started earlier, because this is what this book is about: is how did we get here? This is from that chapter. And I'll link it in the chat if people want to look into this book,
I mean, it'd be
and the authors. But at the same time, it's there, and this, especially for you, Mr. Payne, you would find this really interesting. But as far as pinpointing it to when did these trends change societally, and I don't really care about sociology that much, but I do think it is fascinating to look at it from a big picture point of view, how these cultural shifts have occurred, when they did, and why. Because again, this book is called The Narcissism Epidemic.
Oh yeah, I'd like to look at that, but I mean, I'm just thinking about all the stuff that's going on around us. I mean, even just the regular culture of the United States I mean, liberalism has taken almost over everything, right? People can do, I mean, social justice, liberalism, making sure nobody's feelings are hurt, all this kind of stuff, right? I don't know, but let's go back. And I want Trey said something I disagree with, and I want to go back to that, but I'm not going to argue about it. I think that it's worthwhile talking about potential solutions to things other than just arguing at each other. I don't think that gets anywhere, whether your solution gets implemented
and neither do solutions. They don't get anywhere either.
I'm talking, man. Let me finish talking.
Yeah, but you're not making any solutions. Don't do anything anyway. Nobody's listening.
Man, let me finish talking, man. You said what you had to say.
Bro, you're giving a lecture. If you want to give a lecture, you got to channel that. You got 7 people on the panel.
Say what I gotta say, Trey.
Well, don't give a lecture, man. You're giving a lecture.
No. I just said one fucking thing. What are you talking about? I don't agree with you saying shows that have solutions or bullshit. I don't agree with that. I don't. And not the show that I'm hosting. We can go and argue anywhere we want to argue. I'm not saying it's going to be decent with you, but people have ideas. I like to hear them.
I don't know, man.
All right, so let's take this chart off BMU if we can. Not BMU, CBN. And let's just go back. I was going to go down. First, the next thing I was going to do was just talk about some of the things that I thought impacted me and why I'm where I'm at. And people could just think about why they are where they are based on their own anecdotal lifestyle, right? Because some of the things I've seen and had to go through impact the way I view the world today, right? So, yeah, and again, I believe that more than one thing can be true at the same time without pointing fingers and without saying I'm not taking the blame. But I'm just trying to say, what's the benefit of smashing people when there's nothing you could do about it? Because we are where we are. We are where we are. I don't need nobody to gravel at my feet saying, you know what, you're wrong and I'm right. I don't need that. You
So
know,
as a young man that got kids, Arcane, what you think I should do differently to change the trajectory of where we're going? Because let me just tell you this. I'm beating that ass, Arcane. It ain't no gentle parent over here. You mess up, you get beat up. Okay, that's just what it is. All right, that's how I grew up. You get what I'm saying? So
yeah, and I don't have any
punishment. Right. So what I'm saying. So as you know, as a young man that got a daughter and I got a little boy on the way. Shout out to D-Town. You hear me? What should we do? Like, what appreciate it. What should we do as young men? Thank you. And young women out here trying to raise the next generation. You get what I'm saying?
Why would you ask a group? Why would you ask somebody from the worst generation of all time? Why would you ask them?
Young man.
That don't make no sense.
I'm just trying to move it, Trey.
Young man.
What's a better generation?
How y'all doing, man? How y'all doing, man? Can I speak? Can I speak to the young man who's asking that question? Ma'am, please, ma'am, please. Listen, ma'am, excuse me, ma'am.
What are you gonna do?
Ma'am, please. Okay, so please be quiet. Please be quiet, ma'am. Young man, I can't see your name, man. What's your name, man? Let me ask you your name. Mr. D-Town. And I heard you say you have children, right?
Yes, sir.
You have a girl and a boy?
I got two lovely daughters and I got one little boy coming out the womb.
Okay. So I'm gonna talk to you and I gotta ask you some little personal, but not deep in your business.
Go ahead. Yes, sir, go ahead.
So when did you graduate high school?
2012.
How old are you now?
30. I just turned
30 years. So listen. Okay, so your generation, y'all went through some stuff. Y'all come out of that era. You got to go back. We'll talk about that another time. But look, right now, you have your children. You're under no restriction as far as being a father. You're under no restriction as far as gaining your financial wealth. A brother that has children and not with the baby mama, you paying $10,000, $20,000 out of your pocket a year. So the fact that you have your girls and your child that's a baby, I believe on the way. What you have to do is you have to show them so you can avoid beating their butts. And discipline, yes, I believe all children need a little spare the rod, spoil the child. No, you have to show them because you're in a new millennium. The world is moving forward. So it's technology they can learn and you can learn it along with them because if you're there with them and you don't let no other man put his funky breath and sob story in their face while they're young women and you show them different. But be engaged, learn it too, because you're a man. Man, I'm telling you, man, your life will fulfill abundantly. And by the time you're 50 years old and you done show your daughters, because guess what? Dudes your age right now, man, they can't even get a relationship and the women either. So you gotta let her be different. Let her be natural. Don't put none of that chemical in their body, in her hair. Learn how to braid it yourself, man, and watch how much money you can make braiding. Basic life skills, bro. Focus all your energy into your daughters. Don't listen to nobody else. Talk to the mamas. If it's all the same mama, great. Figure out if you want to be with her, y'all go marry. If you leave, and you still trying to be a alpha, she gonna be a little jealous, so you gonna have to work that part out. I'm just telling you, I can't even tell you how it's gonna be, but you're going to be working out. But if y'all can work together, this is what these places are about. Be a husband and be an example of a husband and still have your fun too. Let her do her stuff, you do yours, but you gotta do it righteous at that point. You got girls, you want your girls to be real queens out here, meaning they gonna get married early to a good dude who want to do something good, who go come over your house with some Christmas toys and shit, Christmas gifts. You know what I'm saying? And y'all just protect each other. Other than that, man, don't even get caught up in the riffraff. You living in the riffraff now. Don't even put them girls out there. You see what's out here. You trying to live it. So just live, focus on them. Don't spend all your money on that fake stuff. Save your money for the next 10 years, 15 years. By the time they become ready to go to college, they ain't even gotta go. Y'all can get y'all passport and travel the world and watch how much rich they make you. Watch how rich those two girls will make you. Only thing you gotta do is just love them, show them balance, man. Don't let them be hotheads. You gotta be under control. Don't let them listen to women because women, no, man, there ain't nothing greater than a small, young African American, crusty lip, big nose, fat head baby.
Hello?
They got their daddy in their life that's doing the right thing.
Trey Ferg.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Tempo, OG. I
I'm
heard
sorry.
everything.
Can you hear me, Trey Ferg?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I can hear you. I'm sorry.
Listen, something happened to my camera here, so
I'm sorry. I might be going, but I'm just trying to, if I'm rambling, I'm just trying to give them, man. Listen, man,
that's
you know
fine.
the right thing to do. You young man, just do the. If you don't know the exact answers, man, go talk to somebody who's doing it. It's like you got to look at your two hands, and you got to find out 10 solutions on how to do everything when it comes to your babies. And watch what I tell you. In 2045, man, you're gonna be a king for real. And remember this, help people that need it. It might be a little girl, little boy that need it. You see what they in. Man, I'm telling you, man, your life will be filled with abundance, man. All this other stuff, man, blaming generation. I don't understand it. Because if you 25, 30, you the strongest buck out here and walking. You're the strongest buck. You're supposed to be trying to learn everything. Since y'all so smart, then why worry about other people talking? Go learn the craft, then come and show me what you learned. That's how I learned. Go show it.
Let me ask you a question. Are you a baby boomer or are you in the Gen Xer?
Man, I don't know what generation I'm in, man. I've been living since 1968. So whatever generation it is, I wasn't in a generation where you had low self-esteem and you couldn't talk to girls. Everybody could talk to a girl, and the girl could talk to a boy. When crack came along, it took the mothers out the house. It left these young boys and girls to survive on their own, and now they adults. They was pushed into medication. And the thing about it, and here's the thing, because y'all go back and look at y'all stats. As a people, we were graduating from high school and the GED at 98%. We was going out getting these college education jobs. That's what the world was offering.
Yeah,
you was going out. Brothers was listen. Fathers was working these factory
jobs. Y'all did a
what I'm
shit
saying
job
is,
with this damn weight. I'm over here dealing with the repercussions, man. Y'all daughters is fat.
Hold up. It ain't the
they fat. You talking about you don't want to have social interaction with them? They fat. I don't want to talk to them.
Hold on, brother. Hold on.
I'm not talking to no big bone. Get out of here,
brother. Well, I don't know. I ain't got nothing to do with that. You know what I'm saying? Listen, since you're a father and you in her life, you do everything reverse of what you see. If not, you gonna have look. And I ain't got no fat daughter. My daughter was national champion tumbling cheerleader. My sons play football. They all independent, self-sufficient. One that in order for your girls to avoid that, you show them physical activity and watch how strong they be, bro. Is all I'm saying. If you want that blessing, you put that blessing in their life and watch how blessed you will be. They go for every man with a child. The mamas, they gonna be mad. The mama, you can't be 25 worrying about what a woman feel about you. You better be out here getting your skill craft together, getting your mind under control so you can navigate through the world. It ain't about where you live in your neighborhood. We all poor out here. It ain't no generation that blame a generation. It's you sitting around at 32 talking about somebody did that to me. And if you got problems with your mom and your daddy, go talk to them. Go talk to them. Don't blame a man that don't know you.
Can you tell us the time period?
Ma'am, please be quiet, ma'am.
Can you please tell us the period of time?
You go look it up.
No.
Go look it up. Hold on. Go look it up.
I don't need to look it up. It's a lie. You're lying.
I'm lying. Listen,
We've
I
never
didn't
had
know
it.
listen, fellas.
Can we not have to argue about something that does not need an argument? It doesn't need an argument. Let me say
Then
something.
stop lying. Then
Let me
stop
say
lying.
something right quick, Trey.
Stop
Let me say something.
lying.
man.
Tell the
Why
truth.
you calling the man
Stop
a liar,
lying.
man? We sitting out here trying to have a conversation, man.
Trey.
Let's not call
I'm
the
all
guy
for
a
the
liar,
conversation, but you need to tell the truth.
Okay, but
You
listen,
can't tell
Trey.
a guy
You
he's a
can't just
liar,
make
man.
up statistics in your head. You can't just make them up. Tell the truth. Now we have
All right,
never
so
had, never ever had
that's
a
enough, man.
98%
So listen,
graduation rate. We've never had it.
Son, including your GED, it was an 18% GED. A GED was the same thing as a high school diploma. So that's 98%. People were graduating. That's why the college rate went up over 300% across the country in the mid 80s
You
up
can
until
make up whatever
1990.
you want. You have no actual
Well,
proof.
okay.
Put the link in the back
So
chat.
what I'm saying,
Put the link in the back chat. Prove it. You old dudes get up here, you ramble and you lie. You ramble and lie, ramble and lie. And you want to know why the younger generation is fucked up? It's because of y'all.
All right, listen. It's enough. It's enough. All right, anyhow, look, we're gonna move on. And Trey, thanks for telling D-Town what you think that how he should a little insight on how he can raise his kids. And God bless you, man.
good luck, brother.
So let's move on. So listen, I was at a place where, and I don't know what happened to my camera, it went out. I think some of the discussion, other than trying to beat each other up, is pretty good because we got to get. I don't know if we need to really get to the bottom of this whole thing, but this whole notion that we can't be satisfied until somebody's groveling and begging for forgiveness is not going to happen. And I don't want to happen. It's not going to happen on this show. I'm still saying that going forward, and all of us who are still alive and still live in America while the country's still standing, the opportunities are still in front of us. We still have opportunities to do better in front of us. Doesn't matter what generation we are. I do agree that some of those old politicians need to get the hell out. Nobody is more for that than I am. Not just because they're baby boomers. I think their time has come and gone. We need fresh ideas. We need fresh. We need to do other things other than go to war all the time. Say what?
Like I said, brother, my biggest plight is when they try to come for the young people, and it's not even. I know they're not talking about me. I know they're not talking about me and how I live unless they try to make it about me, but that never works because I'm always the exception to the rule, apparently. I can never be anecdotal because they say you're exception to the rule to me all the time. So I never try to make it about myself. So when they're talking about the degeneracy amongst the youth and the black killing each other, these young black boys killing each other, my thought process, once again, is always either, because like I said, I have a father in my life. You raised your daughters well. Every man on this panel believes that the father is probably the most significant, thing to a child's outcome if they have him in their house or hold or not. So my thought is either you didn't have a father in the household or he didn't do his job.
Right.
And if it's not one of those two things, you're going to have to give me an example as to how it's anything else. So until you can stop being the pot calling the kettle black, hypocritical as fuck, always saying, do what I say, not what I do type of niggas, I'm going to always come for y'all neck. And it's not about you, R-Pain, because I know they're not talking about me.
Yeah, but okay, Sway, here's my thing. We are where we are now, right? And you say you have some anecdotal experience.
No, I can't use my anecdotal experience.
What you just said, though, how does that pertain to moving forward? You know what I'm saying? Because nobody on this.
You asked me how can we move forward. I told you we have to wait until y'all die off.
Okay, so that's okay.
That's gonna happen.
Y'all run everything. Y'all are all. You literally run everything. You are the key holders to the world. The people in power are boomers. We have to wait until all the people in power die off. That's the only way.
Wait, hold on for a second. Okay. Let's explore.
What are we gonna do? Anarchy, this motherfucker, and run you out of office?
It's not about that. It's not about.
No, so we're gonna have to wait until you die off. That's the only one.
Hold on, Sway. Hold on. They call it generational for a reason. They call it generation for a reason. For one, it's generational because we're supposed to evolve. Not right now, what we have right now is devolving.
And
our generation is in listen, our generation of
only
Z's and
blame who?
millennials. Hold on, bro. Our generation of Z's and millennials are in trouble. I don't give a fuck how you put it. It can be X's trouble. It could be X's that's out there that started it. It could be Z's or boomers or whatever the fuck you want to say when we talk about blame. It's not about blame. I don't care how y'all looking at this shit. It still comes from how do you go forward as a generation. It is about evolution. It is not about waiting for somebody to die off. Because you got old ass white men that are taking control of this shit.
We're waiting for them to die off too. They boomers too, ain't they?
This is not a generation versus generation.
They boomers too, ain't they? Waiting for them to die off too.
Listen to what I just said, bro. You said wait for the boomers to die off. You still get old. And it's not, when it comes down to your health, you can die tomorrow. What we're saying is that right now in Z's, because right now Z's and
millennials. You just argue, sir. You don't even acknowledge my point. What was the reason I made
right
that statement?
now? Z's and millennials are in trouble. Why? I don't give a fuck how you look at it.
Why?
They're in trouble.
Why?
I do it like this. I don't give a fuck anymore. They're in trouble. Now what?
Exactly. Because it leads to your blame. You're bald headed boomer.
I know why we're in trouble. Because of the culture and the society and the mistakes of the baby boomer generation. They set this up.
Now what do you do going forward?
Now guys like me at 38 as an older millennial,
I'm going to disagree with that theory. I'm going to disagree with that.
Have had to sift through the bullshit and had to figure it out.
Yes, that's what you gotta do.
Okay,
we wait for y'all to die off so we can take control of shit, man. That's it. We waiting for y'all to move on with your lives.
Bro. Hey, I hope this ain't the brother that got the children talking like that, bro.
No,
because the one thing, please, thank you, man.
Okay, peace, everybody. Just peace for a second.
Come on, man.
We know where the positions are for everybody else. All right, let's just move on. Listen, people gonna die off. That's what. Hold on, that's what's gonna happen anyway. People die.
Sounds crazy, man.
But we're gonna have elections. We're gonna have elections coming up. You know, so there's always opportunity. Vote people out. Vote for younger folks, and that's the way we do it in this country. Yeah, and we can't just go for the top guy. We got to start from the bottom up. And I agree. We should start putting lower. We should start putting younger people in office. However, if they ain't thinking any better than the old people, they ain't going to do you much good. You're just going to have a younger person who thinks the same as the old guy. You know, so.
Arcane, how do people get in office? Don't they need money to get in office?
Well, no, listen, I'm not.
First and foremost, they need a damn degree.
Wait a second. We vote for people in elections, and always how they do it. I'm not going to get down there. We know how the process works, Trey. We know how to.
Trey, you ain't gonna vote. You ain't gonna vote for nobody in your age group anyway. You don't like them anyway.
First of all, shut your old ass up. You don't know what the fuck.
No, that's the shit you do. That's the type of stuff the little girl stuff you do. That's the type of little girl stuff. But you're not. You sound like a little. Right.
Shut your old. You're an old ass piece of shit. All you do is ramble. All you do is get on your ramble every fucking
I know you was bullied in school.
CBN.
I know you was bullied in school. I know. That's why you became a cop. You was a buster.
Bring down the trains for us.
I wanted to ask you something right quick.
Who's asking me?
Me, Dr. Steele.
Okay.
You had mentioned a lot of events that change your life. But I think there's one event that I don't think you've mentioned. I don't know if it's a coincidence or not. In 1962, do you know what happened in 1962?
I maybe I don't think only have the Cuban Missile Crisis then, but I don't have what else happened in 62.
There's one other thing that happened that might have impacted us, and again, it might be a coincidence.
Prayer
was taken out of the public school. God was taken out of the public school. That could be it, and that could be very significant. Do you agree with that?
You know what? I think that has something to do with it. But again, that I think the amount that it has something to do with it might vary based on who you talk to. But all of these little things actually do impact things. I do remember when they took prayer out of school. I do remember that. I was still young, but yeah, I don't know how much it impacted. I don't know how you quantify those kind of things. Right. So there's some things on the list that, we can't be quantified.
Wait, what do y'all mean prayer got took out of school?
It was very little impact.
People still pray in school. What are we talking about?
But there's very little impact. The people falling out of the church, black people falling out of church was for entirely different reasons. I understand the sentiment, but it starts at home. It's always going to start at home. And if you aren't upholding the values at home, like I said, you're going to be a hypocrite, and your kids aren't dummies. You know what I mean? You got to.
No, I agree.
So that's where it really starts at, not at school.
All right, so that's Easy Money Jones, man. How you doing, man? You got something to say on this?
Oh boy, do I! So I'll try to keep it, productive and constructive. But come on, man! Like at some point, you have to look at the things that the boomers are responsible for. The crack epidemic, okay? Reaganomics, like they put in Reagan, they put in both Bushes and Obama, and to a large extent, they put in Trump. And each of these guys have been worse than the other. And their policies that they've pushed forward, whether it be the crime bill, whether it be the welfare to work, all the things that, well, not all, I won't say all, but a lot of things that were put in place over the last 40 years have done irreparable damage to this country that, unfortunately, us millennials and hopefully the alphas will be able to repair. So it's important that when we have these conversations about generations, that even if you don't agree with, hey, Reaganomics is the best thing ever. Okay, cool. That's your opinion. But there's no way that you can look at the things that were implemented during the boomers' reign and not say, hey, we did mess up in some areas, and you guys got a heavy lift ahead of you to fix it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, listen, I don't think there's any bigger detractor than the government that we have now than I am. And in the beginning of the show, I did say, and when Sway first came on, that boomers are in all of these prominent positions that we still live up to. And I'm one of the guys who can't, but see, I didn't look at them as boomers. I just think there's a bunch of people with bad policy. But yeah, they came out of the boomer generation. And, that's just to say, but the thing that I'm saying is if they're in those positions, that means they were somewhat successful in getting there. And that was my point, that they were there. It's not like they were all crackheads, right? So they were, so the boomers might have had to live through the drug wars and the crack and all that stuff, but they ain't all were on crack, right? Again,
well,
no, they were on coke.
Wait a minute, before you go back on this, because I'm not arguing with you. What I'm saying is, I don't think it's the boomers' fault that we have a class divide. I just think the class divide was going to be there regardless, and just how societies work, right?
100%. I can agree with you on that, Arthur. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just want to let you know I agree with you on that point.
So here's my solutions, though. Here's what I'm thinking, and I'll let some other people talk. See, I know people want us to genuflect to say it's the fact that the boomers are in charge and the country's going to shit. Okay, let's just concede that. But that's not the end. What do we do about it? The first thing, the way our country works, is we need to vote some of these old assholes out of office. We need regulations that maybe term limits might have to come in play. We shouldn't have a president who's going to be 80 years old. I don't agree with that. I don't give a shit what generation he's from, because 100 years from now, I'm not going to sit down here and say, well, this guy came from Gen A, and so Gen A's are effed up because Gen A policy sucks. Because in the next 20, 50 years, we're going to be talking about somebody else messing up the country. So that part of it is true, but it's a coincidence that it's the baby boomers' turn, because there were some bad policies when the silent generation was in charge. There were some wars we got in that had nothing to do with the boomers, right? Vietnam was a war we should have never been in, but we didn't start that goddamn thing.
Yep.
We fought in it. 50,000 boomers died.
Yep.
How did Vietnam
this.
start? How did Vietnam start?
Let me finish. Let me just finish.
Arpane, give me some history. How did Vietnam start? You say we wasn't supposed to be in it. So what happened?
Because
we were drafted, bro. It was a draft.
Well, not only that,
but I'm saying why did the war start?
We had this whole domino. Let me answer. They had the whole thing about the spread of communism and the propaganda that if one country fell, there would be a domino effect of communism, and we had to stop it at the source. And this was a French war, and the French were getting their ass kicked by the Viet Cong, and somehow some asshole got us involved in that. And American troops, just kind of like we're gonna go and start doing this stupid shit in Ukraine and maybe in over there in the Middle East, right? We get sucked into wars that we shouldn't be sucked into.
Yeah, I didn't know that at all. That's what's up. I thought we actually went to war, but what y'all saying is niggas are just putting their nose in shit that they wasn't even supposed to be putting their nose in.
Yes. That's how I do
it. Well, that's not the story that they told America.
Come on, Trey.
That ain't what they
told us in school now.
Our pain is correct, but the story that they told America was that Vietnam had bombed some boats of ours, had bombed some ships of ours. That's the story that President Johnson told everybody at the time, that they supposedly bombed some ships, and we were going to be retaliatory.
Right.
But so what our pain is telling you is the actual truth and what actually happened.
And what you're saying.
Listen, all I'm just trying to say is, go ahead, detail. Go ahead.
I'm just messing with y'all and Trey, because Trey basically said he was part of that, whatever, I guess the boomer generation, and he fucked it up for us. Like what Trey been saying, goddamn.
That's right. All right, so listen, and here's what I want to do. I don't know how much longer we're gonna go here, but I would just kind of say what the way I look at things is based on where I came from, right? I was born in Harlem, right? I lived in Frederick Douglass Apartments. Some people might know about that in Harlem, Spanish Harlem. And my mother died when I was 8, so I had to move in with my cousins. And my grandmother, we had generations living in one apartment in Harlem between Manhattan and 8th, across from Morningside Park, a park that none of us could go into because there was shootings and murders there every night, just about. Right. So I lived in a room. I shared a room with 2 of my female cousins. We had bunk beds. So me and my brother were on the top. They were on the bottom. There was a cot in there for another one of my cousins whose mother and father, they were always at it. So he was staying over there. And we shared a room with an Irish setter. Anybody knows Irish setters? Those are not small dogs.
Right.
So we shared that room. And then we used to draw lots every night on who was going to sleep by the wall, because there was a crack in the wall. And at night, the roaches came out of the crack. Right. So my 2 of my aunts were there. One of them was married. Her husband was with her, and she had kids too. And then my grandmother, West Indian that she was, always put up a migrant in the front room on a couch that none of us could ever sit on, because we had those couches with the plastic seats, and you couldn't even go in there. And so I don't know how we made it. We had 1 bathroom, and I don't even know how we made it. And then 2 of my aunts, they bought a house in the Bronx. They bought a house in the Bronx, and it was like nirvana. We had fruit trees in the back. There was 2 apartments, one upstairs. There was 3 bathrooms in this place. It was like heaven. And so then the gangs came out and all that kind of stuff, but it made our family real close. And that's one of the things that I can see. But one of the things, as I was growing up, I said, man, my kids will never see this shit. When I was going to school in Harlem at 8 years old. I was traveling from the Bronx to Harlem. And if you didn't know, you had to take 2 buses and a train to get to my school. I was 8. I mean, 8. Shit. I'm thinking if a parent did that today, they would be put up for child abuse. I mean, the trains would stop working. It would be snow days. We had to find different ways to get home, and sometimes we had to go through the South Bronx to get to train. And I don't know if anybody remembers the movie Fort Apache, the Bronx. The train stop that we had to get off was right there by that place, Fort Apache. It was crazy out there. And I went to Catholic school, so I had my little stupid Catholic school uniform and with a bag. I was the biggest mark in the whole goddamn world. You know, walking through the neighborhood with a little stupid bag, you know, cardinal this, cardinal that. And I never could imagine my kids ever having to do some shit like that. And so, you know, see these kind of things.
This, man. So what's so bad about how you grew up to make it seem like you don't want your
No, you know what wasn't bad. It was good. The good part was that we were family. The bad part was
that's what I see. That's exactly what I mostly see. Not to interrupt you, but that's what I hear. I hear family. I hear being together as one unit. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Nowadays, we out here by ourselves, bro. We getting thrown out here
that's
to the
unfortunate.
wolves, bro. You get what I'm saying? And it's like, well, shit, I'd rather sleep on 2 bunk beds if I'm gonna be with my family instead of being out here homeless. You get what I'm saying?
There's
Because it ain't none of
no
that
doubt
shit.
about that. Yeah,
You get
I
what I'm
agree
saying,
with you.
OG?
But yeah, and here's the point though. Either way, you know that there's something better for you out there, right? Whether family's gonna get it for you, or you have to go ahead and make sure that you're upgrading for your family. And that's where I came from. It didn't matter if I was a boomer. I probably would have thought the same way if I was a Gen Xer or a millennial or whatever, if I was in that circumstance. And that's the one thing that makes me kind of like, hey, shit, man, okay, I happened to be born as a boomer, you know, and so that's what makes me a little bit defensive when I hear all this stuff about baby boomers. Because I made sure that no matter what generation I was born in, that my kids would have a chance at developing a better long-term life than I had. You know, and I think there was a lot more people. I think there was more people like that than we give credit for. You know what I'm saying? You know, so that's
Yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying. But I'm gonna say this and shut up. But I do understand where y'all coming from, because I come from that working Black family that, you know, regardless of the obstacles or the odds, you still got to do what you got to do, and it can work. So I understand exactly, because I come from that. You know what I'm saying? You know, ain't no crackheads, ain't no baby daddies, ain't none of that shit in my family. You know what I'm saying? We stand on our last name, we take care of our business. All the women are married, all the men are married. You know what I'm saying? So I get exactly where you're coming from, but it's just in this day and age, the big thing that we're missing right now is respect and that family unit. A lot of our kids, we just don't have, and I think that's what we really like yearning out to the old folks about, because
Young
we don't
blood.
have it no more. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, go ahead and talk to me. Yes, sir.
No, young blood. Listen, you in a perfect position. Then you're in a perfect position. Stop looking at everything sideways and just go up from here. How old are you, brother?
He's 30.
I'm 30. I'm 30.
Right, you right there, man. You right there. You got your children, man. I'm telling you, you in a blessed position. You got.
I'm with you
But
on that.
what I'm saying is, listen. All your friends, you got to sit down and talk to all your bros. Like, man, who's ready to do something different? And it ain't even about going out here and making a lot of money. It's that right now the world is moving forward, man. And you got to get a skill. All y'all get a different skill, whether it's cutting hair, jacking up a car, taking out mufflers. Get something right now. And it ain't gonna cost you a lot of money, because you can go to the library, read all the free literature, YouTube videos, everything, and get a skill and stay with your children. And I guarantee, brother, did a flip over for you in the next 10, 15 years, because you right at the strength of your life. Ain't nothing stronger than a 30-year-old brother. Nothing stronger mentally. A lot of brothers think about it. You see it, they fighting mentally. And that's where sometimes they give up at mentally before they get started. You can do no wrong if you dedicate yourself to your family, to your life, your friends. You know what I'm saying? You don't let no people. man, it's so easy. Learn how to do life skills, learn how to cook, clean, show your daughters how to be clean, try to be neat, how to be pretty, show them how to also put their dukes up because you the daddy. You got to show them how to get out there because you see what's out there. And vet the dudes that come around. There's some good dudes out there. You know what I'm saying? Just vet them. Just vet them. You know, because your daughters are going up against this LGBTQ. These people are all over the place with this mess out here, man. Protect your baby, bro.
Trey Ferg, wait, hold on for a second. Hey, Mr. He said, if you're out there, you put up a question before. Can you put that back up? I forgot what it was. Maybe we can answer it. JT, were you getting ready to say something?
Yeah. So
if you heard me, Mr. He said you put a question out there. Go ahead.
One of the things I see that's the difference in our generation is it is togetherness, but it's a circumstantial thing. When I look at what the boomers had to deal with versus what my generation had to deal with, it was because circumstances had them to be together. Because for one, opportunities wasn't there for a lot of people coming from where my family came from, Mississippi, Tennessee. So when they migrated up here, when a lot of the families migrated up here, they were still living like they were in the South. You know what I'm saying? They had to actually find every opportunity to make money so that they could have a place to stay. And what they did was a lot of people stayed together. 2-bedroom house, you had about 12, 13 people that probably was in that house until they had the money to get out and branch out. So one of the things I also look at, even with the generation before that, think about what they had to deal with. They had to still deal with Jim Crow and all this stuff that was going on. And so it made them stick together. You had no choice. You had to. Or you
Right.
So as we got progressed more and more in generations, the less and less we stayed together. The cohesiveness started to, pretty much it started to water down because life started getting easier. And instead of us having
integration, right? Integration had a lot to do with that.
Well, it's not just that. It's the fact that we never had it instilled in us that this shit had never happened to us again. Like the little hats, right? This is why they're very paranoid. That's why they stick together, because they didn't, just because life is getting got easier for them, they made sure they kept those intact when it came down to sticking together. And it took certain things to do to keep that cohesiveness. With us as Black Americans, somebody gotta go on mute. Us as being Black Americans, very unique situation, right? We in a country where our ancestors were taken from one continent and brought over here, and along with all the kind of other continents and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is that when a lot of us got here, a lot of our ancestors got here, they tried to stick together. Why? Because they were being torn apart, being sold, and all kind of stuff. And imagine how much trauma that was for a mother to be torn away from her husband, to be torn away from her children and things like that. And as we got older and older, as things started to go closer to where we at right now, think about they just had a show that was talking about post-slavery, right? Post-slavery. And you had Black folks that did not want to go back. I mean, they did not want to go back. So they said, well, shit, we just going to live out here and try to build our own shit. They got with Indians. They learned how to build teepees and learn how to build their own little community, where you had other slaves was like, I can't live like this. And they went back and tried to live with the slave master. This was post. So it still got to a point that once we got to, okay, now we went out of slavery. Now we're into segregation. Now we into white men hating Black men. Now we and I ain't talking about white men that were slave owners, because it wasn't that many slave owners that were white anyway. They didn't like us because they didn't want us to take with that little bit that they had. So when you have people that say, well, why do white people hate us so much? Do your history. You will find out why. Because it wasn't a whole bunch of rich white people like the narrative was said. They were regular ass citizens. They were poor as hell, and they started seeing Indians and black people that were striving. Right? We were what they call resilient. Everything that was
Yeah, you're
thrown
right.
against
Keep
us in
going.
America, we fought against it and we prevailed. But as we prevailed, we started falling away from what we believed to be our God, right? No matter what it was, we started falling apart from that. Then we started getting to a point where we falling away from family.
Yeah.
Because money. We started making money,
But not to
bootlegging and all
interrupt you,
kind of
OG. But not to interrupt you, I'm gonna let you keep cooking. When you said that, they took that God away from us. That is so true, bro. Because look, I'm probably the last of that generation that had prayer in elementary school and things like that. You get what I'm saying? But as soon as I seen that stuff start changing, I thought, and I never thought in a million years that I would hear black folks saying they atheists and things like that. When I was growing up, I just didn't hear that from blacks. I didn't hear that. You get what I'm saying? But keep cooking, OG. Keep cooking.
Yeah.
So even when you're talking about that, when you talk about religion, we had people that actually had knowledge, man. We had a whole bunch of people that were Pan-African. We had a whole bunch of people that were all kind of other different beliefs, had different beliefs, right? We had people that actually understood where the origination of Christianity come from. We had very, very intelligent people. They may not have talked English with the best of diction, but they were very intelligent. But what I'm saying is that the more and more that we got out of the struggle, that type of struggle, the worse and worse we became towards each other.
Yeah,
we don't even like each other anymore because of that.
I
Well,
agree,
well,
man.
if we
We
land
so
anybody else.
we so individual right now. We so
Well, hold
I'm
on for a
good.
second though.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
But it's all true. But some people will say it differently, right? When we were segregated, that also served as a glue to keep us together because we couldn't go anywhere else. But there was good parts of that, but there were also bad parts of that, especially from a business perspective. You didn't have to be your best because you had a built-in cadre of people who had to come to you, right? So when it was time for integration, you know, people being who they were, when segregation was gone, there was a black flight from black places and black locations, and the people who could leave left. And they didn't go back to a lot of those businesses because they weren't getting the best quality of service for what little money they had. And nobody corrected that. Nobody said anything about that. That hurt. In America today, the only people who talk about integration is black people. Nobody talks about that shit.
Can I have some pushback
And that's
on
black.
that?
Wait, hold on. That's black Americans. Because even black Africans and black Haitians and they have their own communities too. And they prefer to be alone. The Hispanics come here, they have their own community. Chinese put up their own signs, and the country to them is more like a mixing pot or a salad bowl as opposed to a melting pot. So when we talk about the one thing blacks have is we're the consciousness of the country, whether we agree with it or not. But because the atrocities that happen usually are magnified in our neighborhoods before they spread to others, right? And so that's how I see it. But what does that have to do with us moving forward? And that's a good point, right? Because what I'm saying is that none of these things, from slavery to Jim Crow to the massacres to the lynching to the redlining to all of that kind of stuff, we're still here. We're still standing. We have a tremendous amount of successful people still moving forward above it all. We're living through a eugenics program that kills a tremendous amount of potential black babies to be born. Those Planned Parenthoods are 70% in black and brown neighborhoods, and their way of keeping the population of blacks and poor people down is by saying how beneficial it is for you to get rid of your kid, right? And so we voluntarily go into those camps and have our kids scraped out, but that's mostly the people who feel they have a future. The ones who don't, they're still having their babies. Now, I heard the unwed mother rate is going down, maybe because the pressure of being a single mother is starting to get to people. They're starting to see whether they're getting good advice or not. I think a lot of women understand that shit, man. If I let this asshole knock me up, you know, that's not going to be good. You know, so
Didn't they pass that bill? Ain't it no? It's
what
not
bill is that?
anymore parenthoods no more, right? You can't just get an abortion no more, right?
No. Their Planned Parenthood their Planned Parenthoods are still going strong in the places where Roe v. Wade at the state level didn't really take an impact. Remember now, Roe v. Wade was a federal law that got crushed, not the
In
state.
Michigan, the governor said that if somebody goes and get an abortion, she's not going to charge them. They're not going to charge them for that.
Oh, okay.
Not the state level. The thing about Planned Parenthood again is that if there was federal money going to it, that's where we had some issues. If it had state money to it, I think they handle that differently because blue states and red states dealt with.
That's all they did was they gave it to the states. They gave it to the states and said, "Y'all do what y'all want with it." The governor over here in Michigan was like, "That's a bullshit ass law, so we're not going to enforce it." That was her whole thing.
Here's what I want to do. I just want to kind of start to go with some final thoughts here because, and I'm glad Sway came up. I want to say I'm glad Trey came up, but the guy we should put toxic Trey there. Too bad I don't have control of that shit. But anyway, the bottom line is this. And Trey, you can have your final thoughts too.
Y'all let my nigga Trey be, man.
Man. Trey, we always get at it. I believe that I know Sway was trying to get me to. Not trying to get me to say, I believe that there's fault to go around for the baby boomers for where we are. But the fact that there's baby boomers in charge means that as a generation, there's a lot of successful baby boomers. Now, the way they legislate and some of the things they've done, I concede is messed up because I'm like a staunch anti-Democrat these days, okay, and liberal policies. And the things that are destroying our country. I mean, I'll be damned if I can get behind people, talking about, pronouns and all that other bullshit, man, So, and then, of course, the wars and there's no peace dividend. And the immigration policy, taking what little resources that Black and brown communities have and giving it to strangers. I don't agree with that either. And so there's a lot of stuff that I'd like to see change. Now, when I say that there should be solutions, the way our government works, we got to vote those guys out, right? Or wait for them to die, like Sway was saying. He was being facetious or he was being cynical because waiting for them to die ain't no good because some of those fucking guys are going to live there forever because they gave their soul to the devil. So we can't wait for them to die out. We got to get them out of office. The problem is, and he missed this and he left, the problem is that the people coming behind them might have the same philosophies. So if I'm a 40-year-old guy coming in and I think like Maxine Waters, now you got another 50 years of me saying the same bullshit. So that we got to look at that. And you know what, Ekene, I didn't hear you. I saw you just come up, man. I'm gonna let you say what you got to say, and then everybody else we get some final thoughts. Go ahead, Ekene. Go ahead. You ready?
He frozen.
We'll come back to you.
Oh, he good.
Yeah, you ready?
My bad. How you doing? Yeah, I was. My wife was testing me, so I was replying on test. What was the question again, Mr. Payne?
Well, I mean, you got anything on the topic, man? Baby boomers, anything on the topic? And if you do, be quick, and then if you have some final thoughts, because we're gonna wrap it up. We've been here for a little while.
Okay. The thing about my comment on the question is, baby boomers, did they destroy the society? Not really. I won't blame baby boomer that much, but they started it. They were the one that pushed the first tree to force other trees to come down, because I would say that The self-interest started with the baby boomers. Because if you look at the sexual liberation of the 1970s, it was the baby boomers' time. They were in their 20s and 30s during that period. So their parents were good, and their parents was culture. Their parents were cultural, but baby boomers weren't cultural. They just wanted to do things however they want because they didn't grow poor per se. They were the first generation that grew up in the middle class. So just like every other middle class, they doing a bad job. They did a bad job. Just like even today, if you see any first generation that grew up in a middle class home, it's the same thing that baby boomers did by not understanding how to by not understanding culture, not having a sense of culture. But all they have is sense of spending and do whatever I want because there is a house. Everything is provided. They didn't have to work. They didn't have to go to the farm. They didn't have to like say let me just use the slave thing. Pick cotton. You see what I'm saying? They didn't have to do that. They didn't even have to fetch water from the stream. The things that their parents went through, they didn't have to do it because their parents were the GIs. They came home with the GI bills. They worked at Ford. They were the generations that made it happen. They were the generations that started the build up of the American middle class. But the baby boomers were born in the middle class, so they started all this nonsense today. And then when they started having kids, guess what? They wanted to afford their kids what their parents didn't give them, because what happened is that when they were growing in those middle class time, their parents wouldn't give them those things that they wanted. So they then said, "Oh, I gotta make sure my daughter got it, my son got it." So they end up destroying the generation that came after them. So yes, baby boomers started this selfishness.
Wait, so did you say baby boomers were born in middle class?
They were born into middle class, yeah. Because
Oh,
it
so
might not be but I gotta let me straighten this. It's not in the black community per se, because black community stayed poor way into Gen X. When white people were experiencing the GI Bill, the the rise of the middle class, black folks
okay,
weren't experiencing
I get
that
what
either.
you saying as far as America goes.
As far as America, not just this didn't just really happen in America itself. It also
I'm
happened in
just saying
Nigeria
as far
because,
as no. I'm
but
saying in America, you saying the baby boomers overall, excluding the black baby boomers,
You can't exclude the black
were
ones.
that grew up in middle class.
You can't.
very very low black people, except the ones that went to war. Most very low black population grew up in the middle class. It was mostly majority white that grew up in that middle class of the
Yeah, we're
baby.
talking percentages, Deaconado, and that's why I hear you and you're correct. But the percentages started to rise with the baby boomers in the middle class as well. They did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you look at Medium Man's, if you ever watch any of his content, they say the poverty rate for blacks overall today is as low as it's ever been. You wouldn't believe that, but that's what that he and he goes through the numbers very meticulously. So ever go over
And that's
his
exactly why I said what I said, because when you look at okay, let's put it this way: based on what I've read and the research that I've read, the black community right after during Jim Crow and right after Jim Crow weren't really poor. It was in the right after the passage of the civil rights up until the 1990s that black community experienced a lot of poverty because of the infiltration of drugs in the community, and then the rise of the baby mamas kind of sent the whole spiral the community into poverty. But then by the mid 2000s, they began to, so this is the highest it's been so far, but not completely compared to the early age, the early 1900. No. Today is not. I don't think today there is more money in the community than the early 1900s, because that was when the GM, the Chryslers, the Ford Motor Company, a lot of black people dominated those fields in Detroit. You see what I'm saying? Actually,
So
Gary,
that wasn't boomers, bro. When you're talking about the middle class, boomers were the ones that created the middle class. Black boomers. They
Listen,
created
yeah, you're right though. I mean, you're off on a couple of points, but I know where you're trying to go. I just think that black folks is on a slow trajectory again. We have a class divide, and the upper class. When I say upper class, the people who are middle class blacks, that has been on the rise for years. That unfortunately we didn't take as many black folks with us that we could, even through the baby mamarism and all that other horse shit. The middle class black people still was on the rise, maybe not as fast as their white counterparts. And we giving white people much too much credit. They got a lot of poverty as well. So, so again, I mean, that's kind of, if you got anything else, I want to move up to Dr. Steele and go around. Man, we'll give you some final thoughts if we're still here. Go ahead, Dr. Steele.
I want to say this, and I'm going to keep it a buck. Okay. Every single generation have their good people and have their bad people. And the generation afterwards makes a decision which people in that generation they decide to listen to, if they listen to them at all. Take, for example, as a young man, you have my parents who were baby boomers, but then I've seen some baby boomers who were not great examples as well. But I decided, to listen, to my parents instead of listening, to that guy. Think about the history of the street gangs, right? And I was watching the documentary. You see the Bloods and Crips now, but then they also showed you the Bloods and Crips from back in the 70s and late 60s, and how they were. Some of them were boomers,
right?
Okay, and the younger generation decided they want to listen to them. And then, as a Gen Xer myself, I faced fellow Gen Xers who were toxic as well. And I tried to model myself, as good, but some of the other Gen Xers didn't model themselves very good. So the younger generation was still looking up to us. It's a matter of which one of us they're going to listen to.
Right.
I also, as a teacher, I think about the younger generation, ones who are teaching. And like I said, I'm keeping this a buck. Yeah, we have a lot of millennials, Gen Zs, and even younger generations that are not doing well. But then I have seen people in those generations do some amazing things too. It all comes down to basically who are they actually listening to? Okay. You want to talk about blaming a single generation for something? Don't blame a single generation. Okay? Because like I say, in any generation, there are people who decide, they want to carry themselves as great examples, and there are some people who do not. And the younger generation are always looking down to the generation before them, and they have to decide which one do they listen to. That's all I got to say.
Got it. All right. Thank you. I appreciate you coming up. Okay.
Thank you for inviting.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Trey. Give me can you do me a favor, Trey? Can you put those two fangs on the side of your thing up a little bit? Those two viper fangs. Go ahead, man.
Look, this is simple for me, because I've been doing research on this for almost 10 years now. I've been paying attention because it didn't make sense to me when I was in the military. So I've been looking at this for a long time. The facts are the facts. The research is the research. It is what it is. The largest wealth transfer will happen from your generation, rich baby boomers, to my generation, which is millennials. 42% of millionaires are baby boomers.
Right.
There's a lot of millennials that when you guys pass away, they're gonna get rich, and it's gonna come about that the millennials are going to have to fix the problems. Now, listen, I am not going to sit here and act like baby boomers didn't do some great things, because that would just be unfair and that would be one-sided. You guys are responsible for a lot of good things that did happen, but you also are responsible for some bad things that happen. And it just seems to me, not just you, but it just seems to me that whenever we talk about the things that the baby boomers are responsible for that are not positive, it seems that there's this sort of, every generation got its bad. And it's like, no, be accountable for the mistakes you made. Here's the thing. In 25 years, my generation is going to have to be held accountable, because we will be in power. Millennials will be in power 25, 30 years from now, right? I'm 40, well, I'm 39, right? So 25, 30 years from now, it'll be and we have to answer for the shit that we didn't do correctly. We can't say, well, every generation. No, we have to be held accountable. We didn't do some things right. And when I look at the deterioration, you guys talk about family. You guys talk about marriage. You guys talk about community. Well, who were the adults when all of this was going to shit? When all of it was being destroyed, who were the adults? The boomers. My generation don't know nothing about being married and staying together and having a family and community. Why? Because their parents told them go to school, get an education, get a job. My family told me since I was small, hey, make sure you get a good government job. And what did I do? Went to the military, became a cop. There was never any preaching about, hey, go find a wife, build a family, for nobody in my family. And I know my family is not special. There were millions of other families who were led by baby boomers who were getting the same treatment. We were told to get an education and go to work. That's what we were told. And now we're looking at all of the destruction. We're looking at the undisciplined. We're looking at the disorganization, and we're trying to figure out, well, how did we get here? I can tell you how we got here. The baby boomers were asleep at the wheel, and they dropped the ball. I talk about generational wealth, and I'll land here. I talk about generational wealth. It's not just money. Generational wealth is not just money. Generational wealth is you teaching me everything that you were supposed to teach me as an adult about how to maneuver throughout this life, which also includes marriage, which also includes a family. And those seems to be the things that the boomers seem to have left out in this entire picture. So you are responsible for some shit. And I'm not going to let my foot off the gas on this until a generation. It probably will never happen, because most of y'all will be dead in the next 20, 25 years anyway. But I'm not going to let my foot. It's just the truth. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean. That's just the truth. The average age is around 80. Most of y'all are 60s and 70s. So most of y'all will pass away. You say it's what it is, right? I'm not going to let off on this because you guys did not set us on the right path. You guys did it, but you didn't teach us to do it. And that's a problem.
All right. Next, who's up next? Yeah, JT. Oh no, D-Town. Go ahead, man.
I'm gonna keep it short and simple, man. You know, I love y'all. Y'all be safe. You know, this grown man's talk. I love it. You know, I'm a young man, so I'm just gonna keep asking y'all questions. You know, so y'all keep doing what y'all been doing for us, man. It is some black men out here still doing good, man. I promise you. We out here standing tall. You know what I'm saying? So y'all keep doing what y'all doing, for real.
All right, brother. Thanks for coming up. Yeah, JT.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got
you. Yeah. So I agree with what Trey was saying. I'd never disagree with what Trey was, has said when it comes down to that. When it comes to the whole thing. I was raised by boomers. You know what I'm saying? Just so happened that I was one of the lucky ones. My parents, they instilled a lot in me, but I also had a lot of cousins that I seen that didn't get the same thing as I did, and you know they're Generation Xers, man. I got cousins in and out of jail. I got cousins that that just couldn't get it right. I just had an uncle that just passed away while he was in prison. He kept going back and forth to prison now. So, like I said, I've seen the Xers. I've seen the ones that failed, and I've seen the ones that actually had it all together. My thing is that I think we should have more conversations about our history here in America, not slavery, not goddamn who's a damn Moor or who's just history from 20 years, 30 years, and 40 years, because it's something that's documented. And we can sort a lot of this stuff out because blaming does nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's being accountable for what you do and also understanding how we got to that point. And one of the things is that when we have some of these conversations, man, I'm telling you, when we see how we got to that point and we can actually quantify it, because we can, by having these conversations from one generation to the next, by talking about history, then you can understand where to go. But that's why nobody can really give that question on what do we do now? Because it's not a question that you can actually answer, right? Because there's no solution right now. We got to work towards it. So my whole thing is getting closer to a solution, is that if we're going to talk about this thing generationally, we have to start coming to a consensus to understand what actually happened to our people in America, black. Understand what our relationship with white people was and what it is now. Understand how we look at finances then, how we look at finances right now. This is the things we have to look at. Because one of the things I could tell you about boomers is that the things that we know, they didn't know. They didn't know. And it's supposed to be where generations supposed to get stronger, smarter, and wiser than the previous generation. Right now, being an Xer, I feel like I'm smarter than what my father was, and I'm smarter than what my kids' generation is. That's crazy. So I'm gonna end it with that. I think you did a great job, Arpane. I think we need to further the conversation, and I think we need to just look at it from all different angles. That generation boomers fucked up and the X's fucked up and all that stuff. I mean, we can have those surface conversations, but they don't do anything for us. So one of the things is that you started it off, and I think we really need to get more in detail about this. And we ain't got to go all the way back. We don't have to go all the way back to slavery and all of that shit, man. We got enough history right now that we all lived, and we can talk about that also.
All right.
End with
All right, Trey Ferg, you up?
Hey, what's up, Bob? Hey, man, I think it was really good, man. I appreciate you taking that time, man, and having it, what I'm saying, and taking that wisdom and trying to push it forward, man. I think a lot of young men need this type of conversational space so they can hear different points of views from different minds across the country. I can say like I said, I don't know what generation I fall in. I was coming up where all of my peers, we wanted to be successful. We pushed each other to be successful. It wasn't a lot of drugs like they were, once I was in my 20s, and just, had the same pitfalls that a lot of brothers see, man. Because think about it, in the 60s, man, we had the Black Panthers, the greatest organization in the history of America, who put a lot of these policies to help the children, help the youth of color. And a lot of those good men, were taken out before the age 40. And we as men, we go through garbage through age 40. And now you can see it. I'm looking at what's out here now. We just gotta, continue to have the conversations with the guys who want to be there, because I believe it's hundreds of thousands and millions of guys that want to be in a better space in America. And, we can't blame each other either way. The men can't blame each other, and the men can't blame the women, because we all are going to be affected once this thing settles in, because we're still the only race that's still not grounded in America. We still the only race divided in America, and we divided over nonsense that happened 30, 40 years ago, when our children are going to suffer. Our children, they, hopefully I can live it out, because it's like our young men are panicking, even with older black, it's just so much. The young women are out of control because they led to do what they want. And the young men we still fighting each other, man. We fighting the wrong battle. We got to come up with solutions, man. And I'm gonna do my part. So if you're a young man that want to see the world, man, now is the time, man. Now is the time. No babies out of wedlock, man, because that will put you in the hole. It will spend 30 years getting out of that hole. Protect yourself. Go see the world. There's women all around the world, man. Our pain to tell you that. Beautiful too. Look crispy, just like the sister that lived down the street. They give you problems, don't want to talk to you with bad breath. Come on, man. Go out here and live, kings. Let's go. All right, our pain. Thank you, brother.
I appreciate you for stopping by. Ekanai?
Appreciate it.
Deacon, you got to say final thoughts there, bro? I think you've frozen up again, man. Can you hear me? I think he's frozen up. Hey, listen, everybody, thanks for coming up on the panel. I appreciate it. Hey, BMU, I appreciate it. Black David, I also appreciate all the stuff you've done. Let me put it to you this way, everyone, and everybody in the chat.
Okay.
I haven't really. What? Who's that? Ekanai?
Yeah.
Go ahead, man. If you have something to say, I was going to do some final thoughts. We're going to get out of here.
Okay.
Keep it brief,
Okay.
brother.
I thought you were waiting for me to do a final thought. Okay. My final thought is that.
I got to be the final, man. Go ahead, man. So say what you got to say. Keep it brief.
Okay.
You got to go.
My final thought is that even though the Gen X has done what they have to do, they messed up. Millennia. I'm not millennia. Baby boomers messed up. Gen X kind of mess it up much more than baby boomers. What we have to do is to fix this. We have to build a black business. We have to make things better, educate our kids on how to run business and do it better than the previous generations have ever done. That's what we got to do. Let's make it better now and make it right. Okay, guys.
All right. Hey, thanks for coming up, bro.
Okay.
All right. So, hey, again, BMU and Black David. My camera went out for some reason. I don't know what the hell went on, but that's all right. Got my avatar. Listen, I don't have any problem taking responsibility or accountability for what the baby boomers have done to society, but that still doesn't mean that we don't have great people in that generation. And we did some great things and we did some bad things. And again, just like Trey said, in 25 years, it's going to be Gen X's turn, then the millennials' turn. But I like to have some solutions. And one of the things I think about is if we could stop beating each other to death over shit that we can't change, what can we change? And we need to have more conversations on some of the things. They don't have to be correct, by the way. It just has to be stuff that is forward thinking and moving forward. For example, and this is me, everybody else can think what they want to think. I believe that we need watershed moments. And hopefully in 2024, we get one where the black people in mass don't come out to support the Democratic Party, and that they lose every state that they're banking on us to help them with, because that will change shit. You know why? For right, for wrong, it'll show that we're independent thinkers and we need some reciprocity for what we do with our votes. And for years, we haven't been getting it. And if we can lay that shit on the feet of the baby boomers, I would gladly accept that we're moving our backs on the baby boomers. So all you young fucking guys, excuse my language, who hate baby boomers, do yourself a favor and don't vote for them in 2024, and get your millennials and your Gen Zs not to do it. You know, and I'm not saying you got to vote for Republicans. I'm not saying that. But even though we need to build an independent party, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We've been giving our votes away for so long, we don't even know it. We don't even know it. And now they're moving migrants in, who guess who they're going to replace in 5 years? In those same neighborhoods you couldn't get money to repurpose a school, they're putting them in there for free. Okay? The laws where you got looting, no police coming to save your grandmother and your grandfather and your daughters and shit because of just the police bullshit that some liberal somewhere was championing. We had the BLM grifters taking the money from the black community and the backs of dead black people. Okay? And then moving out to Toronto and having their love fests. And they're behind gated fences and shit like that. And nobody, all the blackity blacks, where are they? They ain't saying shit. We need some sea change. We don't need to start saying, yeah, baby boomers, I'll take a hit. But if we want to save the younger generations, we got to do something different than we've been doing. We got to do something different than we've been doing. Hey, listen, and all the folks in the chat, I'm sorry I wasn't interacting with your, you know, that's my novice in me and stuff. Mr. He said had a question we didn't answer. You know, I can't remember the whole thing, but hey, listen, BMU, thanks for letting me up. Everybody, this has been fun, and I'm glad Sway came up, even though it got a little bit out of control. Trey got a little bit out of control, and I don't like those kind of panels, but you know, we were able to rein it back in and have a little bit of conversation around the angst. So that was cool. And listen, anybody, you could come to my channel. I have a lot of videos there about a lot of different topics between relationships, sports, and politics. You guys know what I think about politics. And I started this series about letting the women tell it. Instead of me arguing and complaining about women, I like to find clips on the internet and let the women tell other women what they should be doing. That's so much more effective. Anyway, with that, CDN, I would say our pain, hey, the boomer, over and out. Thank you, BMU. And I don't have anything else to say. CBN, you got something to say?
I'm glad you called me out. Yes, I would say they were a great show, a great first show. I enjoyed the conversation. I need to see more Trey up in here because he's the guy I can say he did his homework during the list and he put out the facts. I can see that more often coming soon. I'm hoping on your next episode you have Mr. Bennett and Information Man on your side, so there could be more information to the discussion while we have Trey and Sway, the opposition, hoping to clear something might be overlooked. And maybe you may have JT be the referee next time instead of me.
Well, here's my thing, though. CBN, can I say this to you, CBN? Here's what I would like to do. Instead of having opposition, let's just say we both leaned into the fact that what Trey says is true and we don't oppose it. But my question would be, what do we do about it now?
And
what do we do about it? How do we correct that? I'd rather have, if Information came up with all Information Man came up with all the information he knows, and Dr. Bennett, you know, Mr. Bennett comes up, everybody comes up, you know, Coach K, whatever. And we talk about what do we do from this point forward? How do we energize the young folks without making them feel like we're blaming them? How do we take whatever accountability, baby boomers? Why don't we start a show saying, okay, baby boomers will take accountable for all these things. Okay, what's next? We got 75-year-old congressman. We got 80-year-old president. Why should he get another term? You know what I'm saying?
That is needed because that's what I've been saying for a while, for over 20 years. I think what you said is what I've been saying for 20 years. We're not taking account of the power we have at play so we can make the changes necessary. Like you said, you need to vote out the old head. Now, we have a lot of youth who are not voting, who are not going to the polls, and not casting their ballot. You're allowing these old heads to stay there longer. I think that's what the problem is. Because someone is teaching these young people that our vote don't count. So what I say, Information Man, Mr. Bennett on your side, while you have Trey and Sway. Then you have JT be someone like a referee, because I think JT is more on a neutral side. He understands both ends of the spectrum. He understands what is going on. He been out there in the street. He see what is going on. He's just like information man who trying to make the change. I think that conversation next it'll be all about solution and how we go about based on each generation going forward. But this is the great start. I'm looking forward to see more of this.
Yeah, it sounds good. Hey, let me ask you a question though. Another question is BMU around somewhere? Or what's happening?
He's laughing somewhere. He's not here because he know he caught the trouble with the title. So I called him up. I was like, I said, I warned him. This title will cause trouble. And he did exactly
That's good. I saw
that.
something here from Mr. Bennett. I don't know if he's in the back or whatever.
He's here. Let me bring him up.
Well, I wasn't going to even chime in till I was asking, were you guys going to have an after show? Because I know I missed most of it, so I wasn't going to try to give.
I don't think so. I was gonna. I think we went through final thoughts. I don't know how much.
Yeah. I wasn't planning to do that, but I figured if you guys are going to have an after show, I was just going to kind of hang out in the back. If you guys are going to have that, but
are we offline now though? Are we off stream or are we still streaming?
No, we on. We haven't ended the show yet, but just giving a little pointer because this is something like.
You have any final thoughts there, Mr. Ben? I don't know how much you caught, but yeah, we got a little rough in there.
I listened to the whole show. I just couldn't jump on. So too many points to mention. I'm not even going to start. So I'm just going to leave that alone. But what I will say is you've been baptized truly by fire. Because I think if I recall up to this point, you were on your channel, you were doing like a lot of just informational stuff, or then you would drop some nuggets and then get off. I don't know if you were doing a lot of engagement. I know you've been on a lot of the panels.
Well, on my channel, I've never done a live on my channel.
You never did a live, right? So I'm saying, so this is like the first time you like hosting the show.
Very first time.
And you taking all that income in. So you've been baptized by fire. And so it looks like you've come out on the other side. So again, congratulations at least just for that, getting through it. And again, just as like anything else, the more you do this, the more you get better at it, the more, engagement with the chat and all that stuff, you just get better as you do it, but yeah, it's welcome to the, welcome to the chair. Man. Welcome to the chair, the captain's chair. You were in the captain's chair tonight. So and all
it was a good show. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of great fun with the show, and I enjoyed it.
My video camera went out too. That's why I don't need my avatar. I said, man, I'm in the middle of this thing. I can't bug out. My video camera went out, but I'm glad people can hear me.
Right.
That's the first time that happened.
So let's get out of here.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, gentlemen. Hey, thanks, CBN. I appreciate it. Tell BMU I said thank you. Hey, thanks for popping up, Mr. Bennett.
Yeah, definitely. I'll hope to be a part of the next show that you kick off on and whatnot. So I'll be here as much as I can to support you. And
I appreciate that. Okay,
so again, all the best. You got it. Have a great night.
Yep, you too. Later. And later to all the fans out there too.